Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, it's Legacy here. Today we're exploring another wild fanfic scenario. What if Naruto was reincarnation of Sukuna? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you're always in the loop when a new one drops. Let's set a small goal, 62 likes on this video. I know we can hit it. Alright, let's get into it. The world ends in screaming. It always starts the same. Naruto is sprinting down a corridor that shouldn't exist, torches guttering on ancient walls, the air thick with a coppery tang. His own voice echoes in the dark, frantic, hoarse with desperation, but it isn't really his. He can feel the presence inside him, enormous and coiled like a sleeping dragon disturbed. The ground trembles as monstrous laughter, not his, never his, bounces from stone to stone. He bursts into a vast chamber. Shadowy figures cower, dozens of them, some weeping, some clutching talismans to their chests. A tide of terror rises in Naruto's chest, except he realizes distantly it isn't his own fear, it's theirs aimed at him. He tries to shout that he's just a boy, that he means no harm, but something ancient and furious tightens around his throat. His hands, no, claws rise without his permission, ink-black markings twisting up his arms. He feels the urge to slice, to rend, to carve the world open just to see what spills out. Then it happens, the words form in his mouth, low and guttural. Cleave. Reality itself splits. The world unzips like cheap fabric, people and pillars and stone tearing in clean, impossible lines. The walls buckle, screams turn to silence. He stands alone in the ruin, staring at his hands, four of them, long-fingered and inhuman, dripping with something that smokes against the stone. He wakes with a gasp, only to find himself still screaming, tangled in sweat-soaked sheets. His apartment is cold, the only light a sliver of moon slicing through the window. The nightmares have been getting worse, more real, as if every night something ancient claws its way closer to the surface. Naruto tries to breathe, focusing on the tiny things, dust motes in the air, the scratch of the blanket, the faint, acrid scent of old ramen. He almost has his heart rate under control when he notices the air feels wrong, heavy, stale. He sits up, rubbing his eyes. The world comes into blurry focus. He stops breathing altogether. A perfect smoking line has been carved through his wall, floor to ceiling, straight through the thin wood and plaster. The cut is so clean it looks unnatural, as if reality itself has been told to separate. Moonlight pours through the gap, slicing his tiny apartment in two. Naruto blinks once, twice, convinced it's a trick of the light. But no, the edges of the cut smolder faintly, as if burned by something hotter than fire. His heart thrums like a drum. He scrambles out of bed, almost tripping over his own feet. He presses trembling fingers to the split wall. The wood gives no resistance. His fingers come away blackened, tingling. He stares at his hands. For a heartbeat under the moon's ghostly glow, he sees something impossible, red, jagged lines crawling up his skin like living tattoos. 4 fingers where there should be 5. Then, in a blink, they're gone and it's just Naruto again, underslept, underfed, and suddenly very afraid. He can't remember moving, but suddenly he's pressed against the far corner, every muscle tense. His mind races. Chakra, some kind of genjutsu? Did the fox do this? He squeezes his eyes shut and reaches inward, searching for the familiar, boiling red presence of Kurama. For the first time in his life, there's no response. Not anger, not even disdain, just a gaping, icy silence. Kurama, he whispers, voice cracking. Are you there? No answer, only the faint hum of the village at night, distant and indifferent. Naruto's throat goes dry. A floorboard creaks outside his door. He nearly jumps out of his skin. For a split second, he's back in the nightmare, that sense of being watched, hunted, unstoppable and unstoppable at the same time. He grabs the nearest thing, an old kunai, chipped and rusty, and holds it out, knuckles white. Another creak, then a knock, gentle but urgent. Naruto, it's me. Are you all right in there? It's Iruka-sensei. Naruto's grip on the kunai loosens just a little. He glances at the cut wall, panic spiking. If Iruka sees this, what will he think? Will he tell the Hokage? Will they decide he's too dangerous, lock him away for good? The questions crowd his mind, suffocating. Yeah, I'm fine, he calls, voice strangled and fake. Just a bad dream. Iruka hesitates. You've been screaming. Are you sure you're okay? Naruto forces himself to sound casual. I'm fine, really, just had some bad ramen before bed, you know. He forces a laugh, but it comes out brittle. There's a long pause. All right, Naruto, if you need anything, I'll be here. Naruto waits until the footsteps fade before he lets himself sag to the floor, breathing hard. He looks again at the cut in the wall, the smoldering edges, and the moon that now seems to be watching him with an alien eye. He crawls to his desk, hopping against hope that it was all a dream. He reaches for a notebook, then freezes. There's another cut, smaller this time, running the length of the wooden desktop. The spiral-bound edge has been sheared in two, sheets of paper curling away from the wound like petals. He lifts one trembling page, watching it drift apart, impossibly clean. No jutsu I know could do this, he thinks, not without chakra, not without a sign or something. He thinks about the word from his dream, cleave, and shivers. What's happening to me? He wants to run, to scream for help, to curl up and vanish. But deep inside, something old and hungry stirs, watching through his eyes, amused. You're more than you think, brat, a voice purrs, low and echoing. Much more. Naruto recoils, slapping his hands over his ears. No, 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 get out of my head. But the voice just laughs, familiar and terrifying, a sound from the bones of the earth. He huddles there in the moonlight, afraid to sleep, afraid to move, afraid most of all that next time, he won't wake up alone. When dawn finally breaks, Naruto feels like a ghost in his own body. The sun's warmth does nothing to burn away the chill crawling under his skin. He slips out of his ruined apartment before anyone can see the damage, hood pulled low, hands shoved deep in his pockets. On the way to the academy, he keeps to the shadows, flinching at every sound. The villagers ignore him as usual, or maybe they just can't see the new cracks spreading beneath his smile. Inside the classroom, everything is normal on the surface. Sakura arguing with Ino over a seat, Sasuke brooding by the window, Iruka marking papers with red ink. But Naruto feels separate from it all, like he's watching from behind thick glass. He takes his seat, trying to act normal. Sakura glances his way, concern flickering in her eyes before she looks away. Sasuke doesn't even bother to hide his suspicion, eyes narrowed as if searching for a flaw. Rough night, Dobi, he mutters as Naruto sits. Naruto shrugs, just hungry, that's all. Iruka calls for silence and begins the day's lesson, but Naruto can't focus. His mind keeps replaying the dream, the cuts, the voice. He finds himself doodling on the edge of his notebook. Without thinking, he sketches jagged, flame-like lines, red and sharp, coiling up an imagined arm. Halfway through the lesson, his pencil snaps in his hand. The broken end is cut so perfectly, so cleanly, it almost gleams. He stares at it, heartbeat skipping. Iruka pauses mid-sentence. Naruto, are you listening? Why, I just taking notes. Sakura glances over, biting her lip. Are you sure you're okay? You look pale. Naruto musters a grin. Just didn't sleep much, I'm fine, really. But even as he says it, he can feel the gaze inside him. Not Kurama, something else. Older, meaner, smiling. The day blurs, each hour crawling. Naruto fidgets in his seat, sweat dampening his brow. Every time his eyes close, even for a blink, he sees flickers of that impossible chamber, the red glow of torches, the whirling smoke, the terrified faces of strangers, and the unmistakable thrill of power coiling in his chest. By lunch, he's jittery. He escapes to the academy rooftop, where the wind is sharp and bright and the world feels a little less heavy. For a moment, Naruto just leans against the railing, fighting for air. He tries to reach for Kurama again. Oi Fox, he thinks you in there. Nothing, not even a rumble. His hands clench into fists. The skin across his knuckles tingles like a limb waking up after too long a sleep. He remembers that voice, the way it echoed, low and triumphant, and his stomach churns. Hey Naruto, Iruka's voice jolts him. The teacher steps onto the roof, lunchbox in hand, face creased with concern. You're avoiding class. Naruto tries a crooked grin. Just needed some air, couldn't sleep last night. Iruka stands beside him, silent for a long moment. You know you can talk to me, right, if something's wrong. For a heartbeat, Naruto wants to spill everything, the dreams, the voice, the fear, but the words snag in his throat. Who would believe him? Instead, he shrugs. I'm just tired, don't worry about me, Iruka-sensei. Iruka doesn't push. Instead, he opens his lunchbox and slides a couple of onigiri Naruto's way. Eat, you look like you haven't had a proper meal in days. Naruto's stomach growls, betraying him. He mumbles a thanks and bites in, letting the warm rice anchor him for a minute. Iruka watches him quietly. You know, I had nightmares too, Iruka hesitates. After my parents died, I kept seeing their faces. I thought I'd never get away from it, but you do, eventually, and you don't have to face it alone. Naruto's chest tightens. For a second, he lets himself believe it, lets himself imagine there's a way out. But the warmth doesn't last. After lunch, the class heads to the training grounds for kunai practice. Naruto tries to shake off the unease, focusing on the familiar rhythm: aim, throw, repeat. He goes through the motions, jaw tight, eyes narrowed. "Come on, Naruto," Kiba jeers from the sidelines. "Try not to miss the whole target this time." Naruto rolls his eyes. Yeah, watch and learn." He throws the first kunai dead center. He blinks, surprised. That's new. He throws another and another. Each one slices through the air faster than he intends. The last one doesn't just hit the target, it cleaves it in half, the two halves dropping with a dull thud. For a second, nobody says a word. Kiba gawks, "What the?" Sasuke frowns, dark eyes sharp. Sakura claps a hand over her mouth. Iruka steps forward, inspecting the ruined target. He traces the cut so clean it gleams in the sun. He glances back at Naruto, brow furrowed. "Naruto, did you use chakra just now?" Naruto shakes his head, heart pounding. "No, sensei, just threw it." Iruka's eyes linger on him a moment too long. "Go get another target, please." Naruto nods, bolting for the equipment shed, breath ragged. "What's happening to me?" He wipes his palms on his pants, only to notice something strange. His fingers are tinged black at the tips, a faint heat pulsing under the skin. He flexes them, wincing as pain lances up his arm, then just as quickly, it's gone. Afternoon drills drag on. When it's finally over, Naruto grabs his bag and flees, ignoring the stairs. He ducks into a quiet alley, pressed flat against a wall. The air is stale and cold. He looks down at his hands, willing them to be normal. "I'm just tired, that's all." But as he watches, a faint pattern crawls over his skin, red like fresh blood, curling around his wrists. His reflection in a puddle shows eyes that, for a heartbeat, are not his own. 4 dark, inhuman pupils, ringed in scarlet. He stumbles backward, gasping. "You can't run from what you are, boy," the voice purrs inside his head. "You want power, don't you? You want respect, let me show you how." Naruto slaps his hands over his ears. Shut up, leave me alone." But the voice only laughs, deep and echoing. "You're mine, you always have been." By the time the sun sets, Naruto is exhausted, stumbling back to his apartment on heavy legs. He climbs the stairs, hopping. The cut in his wall was just a trick of the nightmare, a hallucination brought on by sleeplessness. No such luck. The moon is rising, silver and cold, illuminating the perfect split in his wall, now cool to the touch, as if it has been cauterized by some impossible blade. He stares at it, stomach nodding, mind racing. A sudden noise outside, the scrape of sandals, the flutter of a cloak. Naruto freezes, listening. Someone is out there. Across the street, Iruka crouches beneath a flickering lamplight, frowning at a battered scroll. He traces a crude drawing, a two-faced demon, four-armed, surrounded by kneeling figures. Above it, the words, "Ryomen Sukuna, King of Curses." Iruka's hand shakes. This can't be. Naruto, watching through the window, feels cold dread settle in his bones. The voice inside him purrs, smug and satisfied. "Soon, brat, soon everyone will see what you really are." That night, Naruto dreams again. He stands atop a mountain of bones, blood dripping from clawed hands. The world is split and ruined, shadow and fire churning together. A great, laughing voice rises from the darkness. "Remember, Naruto, power is your birthright, take it, rule." Naruto screams, the world splits, and when he wakes, he's clutching an ancient, blackened kunai, scorched and cold as death. It started as a prickle in his gut. At first, Naruto thought it was just hunger gnawing at him, a familiar emptiness echoing through his belly. But when he reached inward, testing for that massive, simmering presence he'd grown used to, he found only silence. No red chakra, no hateful muttering, no sullen pressure rising against the edges of his mind. He lay on his futon, the blackened kunai still clenched in his hand from the night before. Pale morning light trickled through the slash in his wall. He barely slept, afraid that closing his eyes would drag him back into that world of laughter and blood. Naruto focused. Normally, the Nine Tails would respond to the faintest intrusion with a snarl or a searing memory. Today, there was nothing but cold emptiness. It was like knocking on a door and finding the entire building gone. He tried again. "Kurama," he whispered, pressing his palms to his temples. "Oi, you in there, say something." No answer, not even a flicker of anger. Naruto felt panic bubbling in his chest, sharp and sour. He sat up, squeezing his eyes shut. This is bad, really bad. The fox's silence wasn't comforting. It was worse than being insulted or ignored. It was as if Kurama was afraid. He paced the cramped room, biting his lip. What could scare the Nine Tails? What could make him hide? The question lingered, growing heavier with every step. School was a blur. He barely remembered changing out of his pajamas, much less the walk through the village. Every noise sounded distant, every face a smear of color. The villagers didn't look at him, didn't mutter or glare. If anything, they seemed more hurried, as if a storm was brewing and everyone wanted to be home before it hit. He nearly bumped into Sakura at the academy gates. She startled, dropping her bag. Naruto blinked at her, brain struggling to catch up. "Morning," she offered, voice uncertain. Naruto grunted, bending to pick up her books. She hesitated before taking them back, her fingers brushing his. Her eyes flicked to his hands. "You okay? You're shaking." "I'm fine," he lied, pulling away. "Just didn't sleep much." She nodded, clearly not convinced. Inside the classroom, he drifted to his usual seat. Sasuke was already there, staring out the window. The Uchiha's gaze slid to Naruto, narrowing slightly. "Didn't think you'd show up, Dobi. Thought you might finally sleep through class." Naruto shrugged. He was too tired to rise to the bait. Iruka entered, arms full of papers, but Naruto barely registered his teacher's voice. He kept glancing at his hands, waiting for those marks to bloom again, for something, anything to explain what was happening. When lunch break came, Naruto headed outside, shoulders hunched. He found a quiet spot under a crooked tree and collapsed against the trunk. He tried once more to reach for Kurama. This time something answered. But it wasn't the fox. It started as a hum, like a tuning fork struck deep inside his skull. Then a voice, low and ancient, oozed through the cracks in his mind. "Why bother with the beast? He is nothing now, just a child's nightmare made weak by time." Naruto shivered. "Who are you?" he whispered. "You know me. I am power. I am hunger. I am the king in shadow and flame. Let me show you." A wave of nausea hit him. Naruto squeezed his eyes shut, pressing his fists to his ears, but the voice swelled, wrapping around him like chains. He saw flashes, temples burning, mountains split, people kneeling in terror. Always that laughter. Always those hands, four-fingered and inhuman, stained with darkness. Naruto gasped, choking back bile. Sasuke's shadow fell across him, sharp and cold. "You look terrible," Sasuke said quietly, arms folded. "What's wrong with you?" Naruto looked up, wild-eyed. For a second, he saw his reflection in Sasuke's eyes, not himself, but something with too many pupils, grinning. He recoiled. "Stay away from me." Sasuke's expression sharpened, suspicion layered over concern. "You should talk to Iruka-sensei or the old man. Something's wrong with your chakra." "I said stay away," Naruto's voice cracked, a note of something raw and wrong slipping through. The air pulsed, and for an instant, the shadow beneath Naruto's body warped and twisted, black and jagged. Sasuke's eyes widened, but he said nothing. He turned and walked away, shooting Naruto one last unreadable look over his shoulder. Naruto slumped, breathing hard. The voice had gone quiet, but the taste of it lingered. Afternoon training was torture. The class lined up to practice basic jutsu, but Naruto's chakra felt wrong in his veins, slippery and sharp like oil laced with glass. Iruka demonstrated the transformation jutsu, his chakra calm and steady, then called each student forward in turn. When it was Naruto's turn, he bit his lip and tried to concentrate. He formed the hand signs dog, boar, ram, channeling chakra to his fingertips. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then abruptly, his skin buzzed, burning hot. Red lines crawled up his arms, visible for just a blink. The world seemed to tilt, the air turning thick. A howl ripped through his mind. "Stop." Naruto flinched, losing control. A pulse of invisible force shot out from his hand, splintering the ground at his feet. The earth cracked in a perfect line, dirt and grass peeling back as if sliced by an unseen blade. The whole class went silent, even Kiba's snickers dying in his throat. Iruka's eyes were wide. He stepped forward quickly. "Naruto, what was that?" Naruto stared at his hand, his heart thundering. I don't know." "Are you hurt?" Naruto shook his head, but he could feel blood rushing in his ears, his body suddenly too small for the thing pressing against his ribs. Iruka crouched, voice gentle, "Maybe that's enough training for today, go inside and rest, I'll finish up out here." Naruto didn't argue, he stumbled to his feet, clutching his wrist as if it might come off. The other students stared after him, whispers following him like gnats. He ducked into the empty classroom, heart still pounding. He gripped the edge of his desk, knuckles white. Inside his mind, he called out again, "Kurama, please, what's happening to me?" For a long moment, nothing. Then, like a draft through an open door, a whisper, ragged, desperate. "What have you done? What is inside you, boy?" Naruto's breath caught. "You're back. Foolish human, you have awakened something you cannot control. I will not be destroyed for your recklessness." Naruto shook his head, frustration boiling over. "I don't even know what I did, just tell me, what is it?" But the fox's presence recoiled, shrinking to a distant ember. "Stay away from me." For the first time, the Ninetales sounded afraid. The room spun, Naruto slumped to the floor, hugging his knees to his chest. The world felt too big, too loud, and he was so small. A gentle hand touched his shoulder. He flinched, looking up. Sakura crouched beside him, worry crinkling her brow. "Naruto, you can talk to me. Whatever's happening, you're not alone, okay?" He wanted to believe her, he wanted to say yes. But deep inside, a part of him was already drifting, carried away on a tide of voices older and hungrier than anything he could imagine. Naruto couldn't meet Sakura's eyes. He wanted to tell her everything about the nightmares, the power that felt like a blade pressed to his skin, Kurama's fear. But even in the silence between them, he could feel that other presence listening, curling around his thoughts like smoke. "I'm just tired," he managed, voice small, "just tired." Sakura nodded, not pushing. She sat beside him in the quiet, letting the afternoon sun warm their backs. For a while, neither spoke. Sakura rummaged in her bag and handed him a rice ball. He took it, hands trembling. "Thanks," he mumbled, taking a bite. "You can tell me when you're ready," she said quietly. "That's all." He nodded, wishing he could believe it. As the last students left the grounds, Naruto finally stood, dusting off his pants. He watched Sakura walk away, her form swallowed by the long shadows. Part of him wanted to run after her, to beg her not to leave. Another part, the part that felt ancient and cold, warned him to stay alone for everyone's sake. He wandered the village until dusk, the world a haze of lantern lights and drifting voices. The market stalls were closing. People hurried home, the air thick with the promise of rain. Naruto drifted, half aimless, trying to escape the weight in his chest. He passed by a cracked shop window and caught his reflection. He froze. For a split second, the face staring back was not his. The lines around the eyes, the cruel curl of the mouth, the flash of red tattoos across the cheeks, all wrong. He blinked hard and it was just him again, wide-eyed and frightened. He turned away, heart thudding. He almost didn't notice the old woman watching him from the alley's mouth, a wrinkled face, shadowed eyes, her attention too sharp. Naruto swallowed, looking down. When he glanced up again, she was gone. A heavy drizzle began as he trudged home. The streets emptied quickly. By the time he reached his apartment, rain had soaked through his shirt and his shoes squelched on the floorboards. Inside, the split in the wall gaped like a wound. The room felt colder somehow, the darkness pooling in the corners. He wrapped himself in his threadbare blanket and stared at the ceiling, trying to will sleep to come. Instead, the voice returned, softer now but unmistakably real. "You feel it, don't you? The world cracking, the fools around you, they sense it too. Let me in, I'll teach you how to make them kneel." Naruto squeezed his eyes shut, shaking. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he whispered. A low chuckle, "Everyone hurts someone, brat. The only difference is whether you regret it." The pressure built behind his eyes, a throbbing ache. His fingers itched. He clenched his fists, trying to hold himself together. Suddenly, a surge of energy shot through him, wild and fierce. He yelped, scrambling to his knees. Sparks of chakra, or something like chakra, danced over his skin, crackling red and black. His senses sharpened, the drip of rain, the creak of the building, the distant sound of a cat yowling in the alley. Every nerve hummed. He stared at his hands, watching the energy twist and spiral, lines forming ancient, unreadable symbols. The power felt different than his chakra, darker, heavier, as if it was something the world itself wanted to reject. He pressed his palms together, desperate to make it stop. Please, he whispered, please, I just want to be normal. The energy pulse then exploded outward, the air rippled, shimmering, a line of his desk split, the wood parting like water. The cut was so perfect, the two halves didn't even fall apart until he moved his hand. Naruto recoiled, chest heaving. He'd done it again, this impossible cut, this unseeable blade. But this time he felt the process. A mental click, a silent word poised on the tip of his tongue. It wasn't chakra, it wasn't ninjutsu. It was something else, and it felt right and wrong and hungry all at once. He stumbled backward, knocking over his battered chair. The kunai from the night before rolled across the floor, clinking against the split desk. Naruto snatched it up, his hands shaking. He pressed his back against the far wall, breath ragged. What if it gets worse? What if I can't control it? What if? A faint sound drifted up from the street below, a window sliding open, the muted thud of feet on the roof. Naruto froze, every instinct on fire. He crept to the split wall and peered out into the night. A shadow moved across the rooftops, slipping through the rain. He couldn't see a face, just a silhouette, tall, shrouded, pausing to look directly at him. Naruto ducked back, heart pounding. He was being watched. He scrambled away from the window, grabbing his kunai. The voice in his head pulsed with satisfaction. They're coming for you, all of them, sooner or later. Power attracts power, remember that. Naruto pressed his fists to his forehead, teeth gritted. Shut up, I'm not you, I'm not a monster. A knock rattled the door, loud and sharp. Naruto nearly jumped out of his skin. He hovered uncertain as another knock echoed, faster this time, urgent. Naruto, open up, it's Iruka. He hesitated, torn between fear and relief. At last, he tucked the kunai under his pillow and opened the door, just a crack. Iruka stood there, rainwater streaming from his hair, worry etched deep into his face. He glanced at Naruto, then at the ruined wall, then back again. Are you all right? Iruka asked softly. Naruto tried to sound casual. Just a bad day, sorry about the wall, I'll fix it. Iruka looked past him, lips thinning at the sight of the cut. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Naruto, he said, voice low, something happened at the academy with your chakra, and I heard noises. Do you want to tell me what's going on? Naruto shook his head, the lie heavy on his tongue. Iruka knelt down, lowering his voice. You know I'll help you, right, no matter what. Naruto almost broke then, the tears prickling at the edges of his eyes, but that other presence inside him stiffened, coiling in defense. I can handle it, Naruto said softly. Really, I just need sleep. Iruka studied him for a long moment, then nodded, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. If you change your mind, I'm here. He left, the door clicking shut behind him. Naruto collapsed on his futon, hands curled around the kunai. The rain hammered the roof, drowning out his ragged breathing. He closed his eyes, praying for dreamless sleep. Sleep, when it finally found him, was a ragged thing, broken by flashes of thunder, old memories, and something new. Naruto drifted in and out, sometimes shivering, sometimes burning up. When he dreamed, he was never alone. Always there was a presence lurking in the periphery, red eyes in the dark, a voice that sounded both like his and nothing human at all. He awoke, gasping before dawn, heart racing, the dream already fading like fog, just the sound of laughter echoing in his ears, and a memory of 4 arms stretching wide. The next morning, Naruto stayed in bed as long as he could. Sunlight spilled in through the split wall, outlining dust motes in the air. For a moment, everything seemed normal, but when he sat up, his head swam. The world was too bright, the air too thin. Hunger gnawed at him, but the thought of food turned his stomach. He shuffled to the wash basin and splashed his face with cold water, staring at his reflection. His cheeks looked gaunt, eyes ringed with shadow. He blinked, and for a fraction of a second, the water's surface shimmered, and he saw not his face but the 2-mouthed, 4-eyed visage from his nightmares, grinning back. He yanked away, heart hammering. Not real, he whispered, it's not real. He fumbled for his orange jacket, forcing himself to go through the morning motions. If nothing else, pretending helped keep the panic at bay. He could almost believe he was just another kid running late for class. But outside, the village felt changed. People watched him from behind curtains, pausing in their morning routines as he walked past. An old man muttered a prayer. Someone else made a warning gesture. Naruto hunched his shoulders, picking up his pace. When he reached the academy, the usual noise was muted. Kids whispered in huddles. Sasuke was already at his desk, eyes unreadable. Sakura glanced at him, her look a mixture of worry and determination. Iruka's gaze found him the moment he entered. "Naruto," he said quietly, "can I talk to you after class?" Naruto nodded, dread curling in his belly. He took his seat, focusing on breathing, on keeping his hands still, on not letting anyone see him crack. The morning's lesson crawled. Iruka's voice seemed far away and the words blurred together. Naruto kept losing focus, sometimes drifting, sometimes snapping back with a jolt. He felt as though someone was pressing against the inside of his skull, testing the edges, waiting for a crack to slip through. During a lull, Sakura slid a folded piece of paper onto his desk. Naruto opened it, heart thudding. "I'm worried about you, please talk to me after school." "Yes." He looked up, she was watching him, face soft with concern. He nodded, managing a weak smile. At lunch, Naruto escaped to the back steps of the school, knees pulled to his chest. He stared at his hands, half expecting the red marks to flare again or for his fingers to sprout claws. He flexed them, feeling the tingle beneath the skin, a warning or maybe a promise. "We're not alone," he thought. "Someone's watching, waiting for me to slip up." As if in answer, a cold breeze cut across the courtyard, carrying with it a whisper, words he didn't understand, but that scraped across his nerves like a dull blade. He looked up, scanning the rooftops, but saw nothing except the shifting shadows. Footsteps crunched on the gravel behind him. Naruto tensed, but it was only Iruka. The teacher eased down beside him, back against the wall, arms draped over his knees. "Can you tell me what happened yesterday?" Iruka asked, voice careful. Naruto hesitated. The lie was on the tip of his tongue, but the urge to tell the truth, just a sliver, won out. "I keep dreaming things, bad things. Sometimes I see stuff that isn't there, and sometimes I do things, stuff that shouldn't be possible." Iruka listened in silence. When Naruto trailed off, Iruka sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Sometimes," Iruka said, "there are things about ourselves that are scary. Things we don't understand yet, but I want you to know, whatever happens, you're not alone. I'll help you. We'll figure it out together." Naruto swallowed hard. He wanted to believe him, but a small, bitter voice inside whispered, "You're always alone in the end." The bell rang. Naruto headed back inside, but the weight in his chest had eased just a little. The rest of the day passed in a fog. After class, Sakura found him. She pulled him aside behind the academy, out of sight of the others. "I mean it, Naruto. If something's wrong, I'll help, no matter what." He looked at her, searching for any trace of fear or pity. Instead, he saw only stubborn kindness. He almost told her then, almost. But a strange pain lanced through his skull. His vision blurred, red and black and fire. He stumbled, clutching his head. "Are you okay?" Sakura's voice was distant, warped. Naruto forced a smile. "Just a headache, I'll be fine." He hurried away before she could protest, not daring to look back. That evening, the storm broke. Rain hammered the village, thunder rolling overhead. Naruto sat in his apartment, watching the water trickle through the split in his wall. He closed his eyes, reaching inward again, searching for Kurama. This time the fox's presence surged up, raw and jagged. "Stay away from me," Kurama growled, voice shaking. "Whatever you are, you're not just a vessel, you're something worse." Naruto flinched. "I don't understand. What's happening to me?" Kurama's growl was a whisper. "Long ago, there were things even I feared, things older than chakra, older than the tailed beasts. You are one of them now, or you carry one within you. Do not seek me out again, brat. If you wake that thing, we're both dead." With that, the fox retreated, leaving Naruto more alone than he'd ever been. The rain continued, relentless. Naruto curled up on his futon, tears prickling at his eyes. For the first time in a long while, he was afraid to sleep, not just for the nightmares, but for what he might do if he lost control. He drifted off, the storm's fury fatting to a dull roar. In his dreams, the world was made of bones and blood. He stood in a temple of darkness, surrounded by roiling shadows. 4 arms reached skyward. The laughter returned, cruel, knowing, echoing through his soul. A vision burned itself into his mind. 10 monstrous fingers, each wreathed in black fire, scattered across the world. A deep, terrible hunger gnawed at his chest. He woke with a start, cold sweat plastering his hair to his forehead. In his hand was the blackened kunai again, still faintly warm to the touch. Naruto stared at it, heart pounding, as the rain drummed a relentless rhythm against the roof. He knew with a bone-deep certainty that this was only the beginning. Naruto ran, heart pounding in his throat, sand and dust kicking up behind every frantic step. His legs moved on instinct, burning with each stride, the academy training grounds nothing but a blur of motion and shouted voices. He was late again, and the only thing that kept him from simply turning around and hiding in his ruined apartment was the sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, today would be normal. He clung to that thought the way a drowning man clings to driftwood. But hope had never done him any favors, not really. When he rounded the corner and dashed through the academy gates, he nearly collided with Kiba and Shikamaru. Kiba jumped back, baring his teeth. Akamaru barked, sensing Naruto's wild energy. "Whoa, you okay, Naruto?" Kiba asked, half concerned, half smirk. "You look like you got chased here." Shikamaru yawned, hands in his pockets. "He always looks like that, Kiba, troublesome." Naruto didn't stop to answer. He sped down the hall, half blind with nerves, the fox's absence a cold pit in his gut. Every step he expected to hear Kurama's angry snarl or that other deeper voice that haunted his dreams, but his mind was silent except for the echo of his own panicked breaths. Iruka was already starting the morning drills by the time Naruto stumbled into the practice yard. Sasuke was there, arms crossed, the familiar scowl on his face. Sakura stood beside him, shooting Naruto a worried glance. Iruka turned, expression stern but not unkind. "Naruto, glad you could join us. Today's focus is taijutsu sparring. Pair up." The class sorted into pairs, Kiba with Shikamaru, Sakura with Ino, Choji with Shino. That left Naruto and Sasuke, as always, two poles of a storm that neither could escape. Sasuke rolled his shoulders, black eyes cool and unreadable. "Don't hold back, Dobi." Naruto's mouth went dry, he squared his shoulders, forcing a cocky grin. "Wouldn't dream of it, team." They bowed. Iruka called, "Begin." Sasuke moved first, fast, sharp, his every motion practiced to a razor's edge. Naruto parried, feet scraping in the dust. They'd sparred 1,000 times, but today felt different. Every movement was electric, as if something was coiled inside Naruto, waiting to strike. Sasuke pressed the attack, feinting left, then launching a spinning kick toward Naruto's head. Naruto ducked, instinct guiding him, and reached for Sasuke's wrist. For a heartbeat, their eyes met. Something in Naruto snapped. His vision blurred, colors going too bright, edges outlined in crimson. For a split second, the world slowed. Sasuke's face twisted in surprise. Naruto felt his hands move, forming a seal he didn't recognize. A pulse of power surged up his arm, hot, savage, impossible to contain. The words spilled from his lips, guttural and sharp. "Dismantle." He didn't know he'd spoken until the ground split between them, a razor-thin line carving a path from his feet straight through the practice ring. Sasuke leapt back, eyes wide, as the earth itself peeled open, silent and terrible. The class froze, stunned. For just a moment, Naruto saw his reflection in Sasuke's shocked gaze, 4 pupils burning in each of his own eyes, swirling with malevolent red. Then it was gone, the line in the dirt closed, the world righted itself, and Naruto was left swaying, breathless, while Sasuke stared at him as if seeing a stranger. What the hell was that?" Sasuke said, voice trembling, barely audible over the pounding of Naruto's heart. Naruto had no answer. His limbs felt hollow, trembling with aftershocks. He looked at his hands, expecting blood or burns, but there was nothing, just the faint memory of power crackling through his bones. Iruka rushed over, eyes wild. "Are you all right, both of you?" Sasuke didn't respond. He kept staring at Naruto, confusion and fear tangled in his expression. Naruto stammered, I'm fine, Iruka-sensei, I just lost my balance." Iruka knelt, inspecting the line in the ground, still faintly smoking. He touched the edge, flinched, then looked up at Naruto with a mixture of suspicion and something like worry. "Maybe that's enough sparring for today. Naruto, come with me." Naruto nodded, numb, and followed Iruka inside. The other students whispered behind their hands, and even Kiba, normally quick to tease, was silent. Sasuke lingered, rubbing his wrist where Naruto had grabbed him. He looked at his hand, then at Naruto's retreating back, as if searching for an answer to a question he couldn't yet form. Inside, Iruka sat Naruto down, closing the door behind them. He dropped his voice. "Tell me the truth, Naruto, what happened out there?" Naruto looked down, fists clenched in his lap. "I don't know, I felt something and then it happened. I didn't mean to." Iruka sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Have you been feeling strange lately? Headaches, nightmares, anything with your chakra?" Naruto hesitated, but the worry in Iruka's eyes broke something inside him. "Yeah, nightmares, and sometimes it feels like there's someone else in my head, not the fox, someone worse." Iruka's eyes widened just for a second before he masked it. "Do you remember anything they say?" Naruto shook his head, but that was a lie. He remembered every word, the promise of power, the hunger, the laughter that shook the stars. Iruka placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "Whatever's happening, you're not alone. I'll do what I can to help. But until we understand more, I want you to take it easy. Don't push yourself." Naruto nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. Iruka left him in the classroom. Naruto stared at the empty chalkboard, hands trembling. That voice was back, purring in the silence. "You see now, don't you, how they look at you, how they fear you. Accept me and you'll never be weak again." Naruto clenched his fists. "Get out of my head," he whispered. But the voice only laughed, a sound that echoed in his bones. Naruto wandered the empty halls after Iruka left, each step echoing. He pressed his hands against his chest as if he could physically keep something inside from breaking out. The world beyond the windows looked normal, children laughing, clouds drifting, the slow shuffle of everyday life. But here, in the hush of the classroom, everything felt warped. He could still feel Sasuke's stare, the fear edged with something else. Not hatred, something closer to horror. Naruto shivered. Eventually, Sakura poked her head through the door. "Naruto." He jumped, startled out of his spiral. She shut the door quietly behind her and crossed the room. "Are you hurt?" she asked, voice gentle. He shook his head, but Sakura reached for his hands, inspecting his palms, his fingers, even his wrists. Her touch was cool, steadying. "Nothing," she murmured, as if surprised. What was that?" Naruto tried to find the words. I don't know, it's not a jutsu I've learned, it's not even chakra, Sakura. It's like something else wants to come out, and when I get scared or mad, it just happens." Sakura looked at him, her eyes wide and full of fear. Fear not of him, he realized, but for him. "Naruto, maybe you should see Lady Tsunade, or Kakashi-sensei, or someone who knows more about seals and spirits. This isn't normal." Naruto shrugged helplessly, a weak smile tugging at his lips. "I don't even know how to explain it. If I tell them, what if they lock me up? What if they think I'm dangerous?" Sakura squeezed his hands, fiercely determined. "You're not dangerous, you're Naruto. You saved me from bullies. You annoy Sasuke every single day." She forced a tiny laugh, but it was brittle. "We'll figure it out, I promise." A wave of gratitude washed through him, alongside something older, a flicker of envy, of hunger, a voice murmuring, "Promises are for the weak. Power is its own truth." He jerked his hands away, looking away quickly. "Sorry, I just need some air." She didn't follow him. He slipped out the side door, out into the village, drifting with no real purpose. He ended up on a secluded stretch of riverbank outside the village walls. Here, the air was sharp with early autumn, the water reflecting a perfect blue sky. For a moment, the ordinary world pressed back in, birds chirping, the distant sound of hammering from a smithy, the scent of wet earth. Naruto sat by the water, knees drawn to his chest, and tried to focus on his breath. He'd seen monks do it on temple steps, hands folded, faces serene. He wondered if they ever felt what he felt, the coiling, hungry presence beneath the skin, the memory of laughter that didn't belong to him. He stared into the water, watching the current ripple around a stone. His reflection wavered. For a heartbeat, he saw a mask of red tattoos, 4 dark pupils instead of 2, a second mouth twisted in a mocking grin below his own. Naruto jerked back, breath catching. "Who are you?" he whispered, his voice swallowed by the wind. The answer came not in words, but in sensation, a cold confidence, a certainty that he could tear the world in half if he wanted. His hand tingled, that same sharp-edged energy crawling beneath the skin. He reached out, pressing his palm to a pebble on the riverbank. He closed his eyes and tried to feel for chakra, but the energy that answered was something else, cold and hot at once, a twisting pattern of hunger and satisfaction. He whispered dismantle as if testing a curse. A clean, perfect line split the pebble, so sharp that water beaded on the cut surface. The halves rocked, then toppled apart. Naruto stared, his heart thumping. It wasn't chakra, it was something else, something terrifyingly easy, as if all he had to do was want to cut and the world would oblige. Footsteps crunched behind him. He whirled, kunai in hand, before he realized it. Sasuke stood there, hands in his pockets, expression carefully blank. For a long moment, neither said anything. Finally, Sasuke spoke, voice low. That wasn't chakra earlier, was it? Naruto hesitated, then shook his head. Sasuke's mouth tightened. You're changing your eyes, they were different. He glanced at the pebble, saw the clean split. Is it the fox? Naruto almost said yes, but he thought of Kurama's fear that whispered, stay away from me. He shook his head. No, it's something else. Sasuke looked away, jaw set. You need to control it, or it'll control you. There was no judgment in his tone, only the cold logic of someone who understood the cost of losing control. Naruto swallowed, nodding. Sasuke turned to leave but paused. If you need help, find me before it's too late. And then he was gone, his silhouette shrinking against the setting sun. Naruto sat by the river until the sky turned violet and the shadows grew long, thinking of power and promises, of friends and monsters. He pressed his hand to the pebble's split halves, trying to fit them back together, but the cut was too perfect, the break too final. As darkness fell, Naruto stood, suddenly certain that he was being watched, not by the villagers or by any ninja, but by something old and hungry in the world itself. He started back for the village, mind spinning with questions that had no answers. Naruto didn't return home immediately. His feet carried him through twisting backstreets, alleys slick with rainwater and half swallowed in the gathering dark. He couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on his back, an electric prickle running up his spine, a pressure that had nothing to do with the villagers, old gossip, or the Hokage's constant surveillance. He reached the edge of town, where old shrines and forgotten stone lanterns marked the border between Konoha and the wild. Here, the air was thick with the scent of wet moss and incense, and the silence pressed in, punctuated only by the sigh of wind in the trees. He stopped at an abandoned shrine, its paint faded and offerings long since rotted away. Naruto set his hand on the shrine's gate, half expecting some memory to spark, but nothing came, just a chill that ran through his bones. He wondered if he was searching for answers or simply a place to feel less alone. As he turned to leave, the hair on the back of his neck prickled. Someone was watching. He spun, body tensed. A figure stepped from the shadows beneath the torii, half shrouded in the dark. For an instant, Naruto's mind refused to process what he was seeing. The man's face was hidden by a cowl, but the hands were marked with black, curling script. One of them was wrapped in bandages, the other clutched an old, sealed scroll. The air went cold. Naruto took an involuntary step back. The stranger's voice was low and oily, sliding under his skin. You're not what I expected, but I suppose the king of curses wouldn't come back as a monster, he'd hide as a boy. Naruto's heart hammered, mouth gone dry. Who are you? What do you want? The stranger smiled, eyes glinting from beneath the hood. Just a collector. The world is full of things worth gathering. Power, secrets, pieces of history. He patted the scroll, and for a moment Naruto saw a flicker, a drawing of a four-armed demon, fanged and crowned, surrounded by groveling supplicants. The same image from Iruka's ancient text. The man continued, voice smooth as poison. You've only just begun to awaken, haven't you? It'll get worse, boy. The more you use that power, the less you'll remember where you end, and he begins. A chill swept through Naruto, but he forced his voice steady. I'm not a monster. I'm not whoever you think I am. Ah, the man's grin widened, shark-like. Not yet, but you will be. You'll cut down everyone you care about one day. That's how it always goes with curses. It's in your blood. Rage and fear warred in Naruto's chest. He gritted his teeth. Stay away from me. The man's eyes flickered with delight. Oh, I'm not here for you yet. I'm here for your fingers, all 20 scattered across the land. I wonder if you'll collect them for me or if you'll just eat them all yourself. He tossed something through the air, a small, black object wrapped in bloody cloth. It landed at Naruto's feet, heavy with the stink of old rot and raw power. Naruto didn't need to open it to know what it was. A finger, shriveled and twisted, pulsing with malignant energy. The man leaned closer, voice a whisper in the wind. This is a gift or a curse. You decide. Every day you walk in this world, you're one step closer to remembering who you really are. And when you do, well, let's just say I'll be waiting. He melted into the shadows as suddenly as he'd appeared, leaving Naruto shaking, the bloody package at his feet. Thunder rolled across the sky. Naruto's breath fogged the air. He knelt, staring at the finger, unable to look away. The power radiating from it called to something in his blood, ancient and terrible. Inside his head, the deep voice chuckled, savoring every word. You feel it, don't you? My strength, my hunger. Soon you'll crave it. Soon you'll become what you always were, a king among monsters. Naruto clutched his head, fighting back the urge to scream. No, he whispered, I won't. But the hunger gnawed at him, relentless. Behind him, the shrine's prayer bells chimed once in the wind, high, clear, and oddly mournful. He ran. He didn't stop until he was home, until he slammed his door shut and collapsed against it, sweat freezing on his skin. He could still feel the fingers pull, even from here. The hunger, the promise of power. He stared at his hands, praying they'd stop shaking. Outside, the storm grew, wind howling through the village. He heard a faint cry, a cat, or maybe something worse. His reflection in the window shimmered. For a split second, he saw those four-pupiled eyes staring back, the shadow of a mouth that didn't belong. A single, horrible thought wormed its way through him. What if he couldn't fight it? What if one day he woke up and he was Naruto anymore at all? That night, he barely slept. The rain, the fear, and the voice all pressed in, growing louder with every hour. And as dawn crept in, painting the world gray, Naruto realized that for the first time, he wasn't afraid of being alone. He was afraid of what he might become if he was. The rain had finally stopped by dawn, but the clouds hung low over Konoha, smothering the village in a gray, bruised light. Iruka felt every bit as heavy as the sky. He'd lain awake for hours, mind chewing over everything he'd seen, Naruto's trembling hands, the line cut into the earth with impossible precision, the fear in Kurama's eyes, and the whisper of something ancient swirling just out of reach. He found himself drawn to the archives, steps echoing down the stone corridors beneath the Hawkage's tower. The place smelled of paper and dust and secrets. The Hawkage's old advisors rarely visited these days. Most villagers had no idea the oldest scrolls even existed. But Iruka did. He'd first come here as a child, seeking traces of his parents in old census logs. Over the years, he'd come for lessons in history and pain, both his own and Konoha's. But today, he searched for something stranger, a connection he barely understood. He found the scroll tucked into the restricted section, labeled in faded ink, Demonic Phenomena, Warring States Era. The paper was brittle, the script dense with archaic kanji and strange glyphs. Iruka unrolled it with careful hands, heart pounding. There, a drawing of a monstrous figure, four-armed, with a second face twisted into its torso. The demon's eyes were slitted, its mouth split in a grotesque smile. Around it knelt a circle of people, worshippers or victims, it was hard to say. And beneath the image, a name written in red ink, as if the scribe had been afraid to write it at all. Ryomen Sukuna. Iruka read aloud, voice trembling. A king of curses born before the first villages, whose power split earth and bone, feared by gods and monsters alike, sealed by the first sorcerers, scattered into 20 pieces, each a finger, steeped in death. He stared at the next lines, heart stuttering. Reincarnation forbidden. Should the soul return, calamity will follow. Signs, cursed marks on flesh, power that cuts without blade, eyes like hellfire. Beware the vessel. Iruka pressed a fist to his mouth, shaking. He'd seen those marks, red and angry, flickering over Naruto's skin. He'd seen the ground split as if by a thought, not a weapon, eyes like hellfire. He traced the last, hastily scribbled warning. Should the vessel awaken, the beast within may cower or be consumed. The king's return signals the gathering of curses and war. Iruka closed the scroll, fear a cold river in his veins. Naruto was no monster. He was a child, brave, brash, sometimes reckless, but good. But whatever power had awakened in him, it was old and hungry, and it wasn't done yet. He stood, tucking the scroll under his arm. He needed help, needed to warn the Hawkage. But even as he turned toward the exit, he heard footsteps echoing in the stone hallway. He froze, the air grew chill, and the shadows seemed to stretch. A figure emerged from the gloom, hooded, face obscured. Iruka tensed, heart leaping into his throat. "Who's there?" No answer. The figure drifted closer, a bundle clutched in their arms, cloth stained with black ink and something darker. The bundle pulsed faintly, like a rotten heart. Iruka swallowed, mind racing. "This is restricted, state your name." The figure paused, then in a voice like gravel murmured, "The king's fingers are waking. The vessel draws them near." Before Iruka could move, the stranger vanished, leaving a cold wind and a whisper that seemed to cling to the very walls. Iruka rushed up the stairs, scroll clutched to his chest. He needed to find Naruto, needed to warn him and to keep him safe. Naruto, meanwhile, barely touched his breakfast. He stared at his hands, half expecting them to erupt in red lines or sprout extra fingers. The kunai from last night's encounter sat heavy in his pocket, and every time he glanced at it, he felt the echo of that hunger. He kept seeing flashes, memories that weren't his own. A shrine burning, fingers, 20 of them wreathed in black flame, screams in a language he didn't know, the taste of metal and smoke. Sakura met him at the academy gate, her face tight with worry. "Did you sleep?" Barely, Naruto muttered. "Did you?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "I had nightmares. I saw you standing in a river of blood. She cut herself off, cheeks coloring. "Sorry, that's stupid." Naruto shook his head, grateful and guilty all at once. "It's not stupid. Things are weird right now." She touched his arm. "Promise you'll tell me if it gets worse." He nodded, though he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. Inside, the atmosphere was brittle. Iruka hadn't arrived yet, and the other students whispered more than usual, casting sideways glances at Naruto. Sasuke sat in the back, staring out the window, jaw clenched. When Iruka finally entered, he looked more haunted than Naruto had ever seen him, eyes shadowed, shoulders tense. "Everyone," Iruka said, voice rough, "today's lesson is cancelled, dismissed early. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura stay behind." Murmurs swept through the room as the others filed out, casting curious looks over their shoulders. Iruka closed the door, locking it. He set the scroll on the desk, and the ancient paper seemed to fill the room with a presence all its own. Naruto's mouth went dry. "What is that?" Iruka's eyes flickered between them, then settled on Naruto. "It's a record from before the hidden villages, about a demon called Ryomen Sukuna." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "What does that have to do with Naruto?" Iruka hesitated, voice low. "Everything, Naruto, show me your hand." Naruto hesitated, but Iruka's urgency brooked no argument. He held out his right hand. Iruka studied it, searching for marks, but the skin was smooth. Then, as Naruto looked, faint red lines shimmered up from beneath, coiling over his knuckles and vanishing just as quickly. Sakura gasped. Sasuke's eyes widened just a flash. Iruka opened the scroll, turning it so all three could see. The image of Sukuna leered up at them, 2 faces, 4 arms, a crown of flame. Naruto's skin crawled. He'd seen that face in his dreams. Iruka met his gaze, voice trembling. "Naruto, I think you're his reincarnation." For a heartbeat, the world seemed to freeze. Naruto stared at Iruka, the words echoing in his head as if spoken down a long, empty corridor. His reincarnation. Of a demon. Of a king. He wanted to laugh or yell or run, but he couldn't move. The room seemed to grow smaller, pressing in around him, the faded image of Sukuna on the scroll burning itself into his mind. Sasuke was the first to break the silence. "That's ridiculous. Reincarnation, this is just old superstition." Iruka shook his head, weary. "I thought so too, but the signs match your powers, the marks, the dreams, even the fox is afraid of what's inside you." Naruto flinched. He remembered Kurama's voice. "Do not seek me out again, brat. If you wake that thing, we're both dead." Sakura touched his shoulder. "Naruto, you're not a demon, you're our friend. Whatever's happening, it doesn't change that." He wanted to believe her, but the hunger in his chest, the pull of the finger he'd hidden, the memory of laughter not his own, felt so strong. He looked at Iruka, searching for anger or fear, but saw only worry, and underneath something like determination. Iruka pointed to the scroll. "This is more than an old story. I saw someone in the archives today, a stranger, carrying something wrapped in blood-stained cloth. He said the fingers are waking, that the vessel draws them near." Sasuke frowned. "Fingers." Iruka nodded. Sukuna's power was split into 20 fingers. Each one holds a piece of his soul, if someone were to gather them. Naruto felt sick. He remembered the pulsing, rotten power of the thing the stranger had tossed to him in the night. Remembered how it called to him, filled his head with whispers. "I have one," he admitted softly, barely above a whisper. Iruka's eyes widened. "Where?" Naruto reached into his bag and produced the bundle, still wrapped in bloody cloth. The moment he set it on the desk, the air in the room turned heavy, the shadows growing deeper. Sakura shivered. "It feels wrong." Iruka steeled himself, fingers trembling as he began to unwrap the cloth. The finger within was blackened, shriveled, the nail long and yellow, the flesh etched with runes that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. A low hum filled the room, too low to be heard, but felt in their bones. Sasuke looked pale but determined. "So what happens now?" Iruka closed the cloth again, tucking the bundle away. "We need to keep this safe. If anyone else gets their hands on these, it could be disaster." Naruto couldn't look away. The hunger in his chest was almost unbearable, like he could feel the finger's power thrumming in his own blood. He forced himself to meet Iruka's eyes. "What about me? What if I lose control?" Iruka gripped his shoulder, his voice steady. "You won't. You're stronger than you think, Naruto. I'll help you. All of us will." For a moment, Naruto let himself believe it, let himself feel, just a little, like he wasn't alone. But the peace was shattered by a crash from the hallway, a scream sharp and desperate. All four shot to their feet. Iruka pushed them behind him, stepping to the door just as it burst open. A teacher staggered in, face twisted with terror. "They're here," he gasped. Something just broke into the archives. Shadows, marks all over their arms. He collapsed unconscious, a spreading bruise already darkening at his throat. Sasuke dashed to the door, peering out into the corridor. "I see them," he hissed. "At least two, and something else moving in the dark." Iruka pressed the scroll into Naruto's hands. "Take Sakura and go. Get to the Hokage. I'll hold them here with Sasuke." Naruto wanted to argue, but Iruka's expression brooked no debate. Sakura seized his arm, and together they darted down the back stairwell, the scroll and the cursed finger clutched tight. As they ran, Naruto's head filled with voices, his own, Iruka's, and the strangers from last night. "You'll cut down everyone you care about one day. That's how it always goes with curses. It's in your blood." He gritted his teeth, shoving the thoughts aside, forcing his feet to move faster. Halfway down the hall, a figure stepped from the shadows, hooded, arms tattooed with swirling black script. In their hands, another bundle, a second cursed finger, radiating malice. The figure grinned, showing too many teeth. "I came for the vessel," he crooned, "and the feast begins now." Naruto stepped in front of Sakura, feeling the old hunger surge inside him. "Let me out, I'll keep you safe, just for a moment." Naruto closed his eyes, fighting the temptation, remembering Iruka's faith, Sakura's touch, Sasuke's stubborn warnings. He opened them again, just as the intruder lunged, faster than thought. Naruto's vision blurred. For an instant, he saw through four eyes, not two. Time slowed, the world tilted, and power roared through his veins. He flung out his hand and spoke the word that came unbidden, from a place deeper than memory. "Cleave." The air split, the intruder screamed as an invisible line carved the ground, hurling him back. Walls cracked, dust filled the air. Naruto staggered dizzy, but he was still himself. He grabbed Sakura's hand and ran. At the end of the corridor, the Hokage's ANBU dropped down from the rafters, masks glinting. Naruto gasped in relief as they stepped between him and the invader. One of them, his mask a snarling fox, gave Naruto a long, searching look before turning to Sakura. "Go, we'll handle this." They fled into the daylight, scroll and finger heavy in Naruto's grasp. Outside, the village square was already in chaos. Villagers huddled behind barricades, ninja darted along rooftops, and a ripple of dread ran through the crowd, something old, something waking. Sakura squeezed Naruto's arm. "We made it, we're safe." But Naruto felt the finger's pulse, the scroll's weight, and the gnawing in his heart. He wasn't sure he believed her. Far above, storm clouds gathered, black and boiling. And somewhere in the village, the true face of the two-faced king smiled in the dark. The morning air in Konoha was thick with tension, as if the storm that had ravaged the night before was still brooding over the village. The The sunlight came watery and pale through heavy clouds, glinting on rooftops and puddles. Naruto felt every shift in the wind, every wary glance, every new rumor hissing through the streets. He and Sakura waited for word from the Hawkage, the cursed scroll and blackened finger sealed inside a wooden chest at the Academy's makeshift guard post. ANBU patrols stalked the rooftops. The air was jumpy, too many eyes, too many secrets. Naruto hadn't slept. Every time he tried, the laughter in his dreams drove him awake, sweat-soaked and shaking. When he did doze, it was never alone. The old voice haunted the edges of his mind, hungering, always waiting for a slip, a crack. He watched the village from the classroom window, chewing the edge of his thumb, wishing he could just disappear. Sakura sat at her desk, chin propped on her arms, eyes half shut. Even she looked exhausted. Iruka had been gone since dawn, called to a council of Jonin. No one said what was decided. Even Sasuke hadn't shown up for class, and if anyone noticed, they didn't say it aloud. As the day stretched on, Naruto's skin prickled with unease. A shadow flickered across the courtyard. Shouting drifted up from the playground, high, frantic voices, not the playful kind. Naruto's head snapped up. He moved to the window, squinting into the sun. At the far edge of the schoolyard, a group of older boys had cornered Hinata, pushing her back against the fence. She stood small and stiff, hands balled at her sides, pale eyes wide with fear. Naruto's heart twisted. He remembered the countless times he'd been that kid, pushed, taunted, made into a monster before he ever had a chance to be anything else. He bolted from the room, Sakura calling after him. He ignored her, feet pounding the stairs two at a time. Outside, the wind whipped dust across the playground. The bullies hadn't noticed him yet. Hinata was pressed against the fence, trembling. One boy, tall, red-faced, with a jagged scar on his chin, shoved her hard. "Come on, Byakugan freak, do something with your special eyes," he jeered, voice full of ugly bravado. The others laughed, hungry for the show. Hinata stammered, "Please let me." Naruto was on them before he could think, shoving his way between Hinata and the boys. His vision blurred, every nerve screaming. He wanted to tear them apart, no, he wanted to scare them, to make them stop, to make the world see. "Leave her alone," he snapped, fists clenched, a wild edge in his voice. The ringleader sneered, "Or what, monster, gonna cry, or maybe you'll cut us up like you did the training ground." Naruto flinched but stood his ground, the hunger in his chest twisted, burning hotter. One of the other boys, smaller, meaner, picked up a rock, tossing it from hand to hand. "Let's see what the demon does if we poke him enough." A memory surfaced, his hands, not his hands, painted with blood and laughter, the taste of old power on his tongue. "Let me out," the voice whispered. "I'll protect her for you, I'll protect you." Naruto shook his head, squeezing his eyes shut. But the world felt thin, the boundaries between himself and that old hunger thinner still. The ringleader moved to shove Hinata again. Something in Naruto snapped. Time slowed, the air around him grew thick and cold, colors leaching from the world. Shadows twisted at his feet, black and crimson. For a single, terrifying heartbeat, it was as if he stood in two places at once, one foot in the playground, one in a ruined temple filled with bones. A word formed on his lips, he didn't recognize it. It wasn't his, but it fit his mouth like an old curse. "Domain expansion." The words came out in a snarl. The world shattered. The bullies were thrown back as the ground beneath Naruto rippled, warping outward. A shimmering barrier of cursed energy snapped into existence, slicing the world into a space both infinite and impossibly small. The playground faded, replaced by shifting walls of red and black, flickering with runes and monstrous faces. Hinata screamed, clutching her head as the energy pressed down on her. The bullies were on their knees, eyes rolling back, mouths open in silent terror. Naruto stood in the center, heart pounding. He felt taller, stronger, his skin crawling with markings. Power howled in his blood, eager to split and consume. The air was heavy with the taste of iron and sorrow. But then he saw Hinata, collapsed at the edge of the barrier, pale and shaking, tears streaming down her face. He willed the power away, desperate, clawing at the walls in his mind. The barrier flickered, then shattered with a thunderclap. The world snapped back, dust settled. The bullies fled, half crawling, sobbing, some of them soiled and shuddering. Hinata curled into herself, shaking uncontrollably, her eyes staring at nothing. Naruto fell to his knees beside her, terrified. I'm sorry, he whispered, voice raw. I just wanted to help. Hinata looked up, and in her eyes he saw a terror so deep it made his own blood run cold. She saw the monster, the king, the thing that wore his skin. He reached for her, but she flinched away, a sob catching in her throat. A single thought echoed inside him, heavy and hollow. Even when you try to protect, you only bring fear. Sakura appeared, breathless, taking in the scene. She knelt beside Hinata, gathering her up with gentle hands. It's okay, Hinata, she soothed, though her eyes flickered to Naruto, filled with questions and fear. Naruto stumbled to his feet, every nerve screaming. The markings on his arms faded, but the memory of the power remained. The world felt brittle, breakable. He backed away, heart pounding. Iruka came running, eyes wide. He scanned the chaos, the ruined playground, the sobbing kids, Hinata's pale face, Naruto's trembling hands. What happened? He demanded. Naruto's throat closed. I lost control, I just wanted to help. Iruka's gaze softened, but his jaw was tight. He knelt beside Hinata, checking her pulse, her eyes murmuring reassurances. ANBU began to arrive, summoned by the disturbance. One of them approached Naruto, mask inscrutable. He stopped a few feet away, regarding Naruto in silence. Naruto couldn't look away from Hinata. The pain in her eyes was worse than any wound. Iruka rose, voice heavy. Go home, Naruto, we'll talk later. Naruto nodded, numb, backing away until he could turn and run. He barely felt his feet touch the ground as he fled, mind a hurricane of regret and self-loathing. Naruto didn't remember how he got home. He stumbled through the door, barely kicking off his sandals, and collapsed onto the futon, still shaking. For a while he simply lay there, staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to the blood pound in his ears. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Hinata's face. Not grateful, not relieved, but utterly broken, her gaze fixed on something behind him, inside him, as if she'd glimpsed the truth through a tear in the world. He curled tighter into himself, gripping the sheets until his knuckles ached. You did this. You hurt her. You showed them all what you really are. He heard the monster's voice, purring, smug. You gave her mercy. In the old days, mercy was rare. Naruto clamped his hands over his ears. Leave me alone, he hissed, but the words only echoed back hollow. Even the fox was silent, a distant, wounded presence curled somewhere in the dark of his soul. Naruto tried reaching for Kurama, desperate for anything, even anger, even threats, but there was nothing but a cold, trembling absence. You see, the voice whispered, you are alone. He didn't know how long he lay there, but eventually a soft knock sounded at the door. Naruto tensed, heart skipping. He didn't answer, but after a moment, the door opened anyway, quietly, and Sakura slipped in. She knelt beside him, setting down a bundle of food. Hinata with Iruka-sensei at the clinic, she said gently. She's going to be okay, just shaken up. The mednin said there's no physical injury, she just needs rest. Naruto turned his face away, ashamed. Sakura's hand hovered over his shoulder, uncertain. I told her you saved her. I told her you never hurt her on purpose. But Naruto, the energy you used, everyone felt it. Even the ANBU are rattled. It was like a curse. Naruto flinched at the word. I couldn't control it, he said, voice raw. I just wanted them to stop. Sakura nodded, her eyes brimming with empathy and worry. Sometimes the people who care the most are the ones who get hurt the worst. Naruto blinked hard, fighting the sting behind his eyes. Maybe I should leave the village, he whispered, if I'm this dangerous. No, Sakura's voice was fierce, her hand tightening on his arm. Don't even say that. You're not alone, Naruto. Iruka-sensei, me, even Sasuke, we're all still here. You can't give up. Naruto stared at her, uncertain, but something in her stubborn gaze kindled a tiny ember of hope. He nodded just once. Get some sleep, she said softly. I'll check on Hinata again and come see us when you're ready, okay? She left as quietly as she'd come. Naruto sat up slowly. He peeled back the curtain and looked at the village below, at the familiar rooftops and lanterns, at people trying to live in spite of monsters and curses. He reached for the sealed box under his bed, the scroll and Sukuna's finger still locked away with ANBU talismans. Just touching the wood sent a shiver through him. He closed his eyes, reaching inward, past his own thoughts, past the silence where Kurama used to lurk, toward that old, endless void. For a moment he felt nothing. Then, like a single bell ringing in the dark, he heard a fragment of his own voice, deeper, crueler, overlapped by another. "You're not running, good, that's the first step to becoming a king." Naruto's eyes flew open, heart pounding. The air was heavy, the shadows deepening around him, but he sat, breathing slow and steady, refusing to move away. He would not run, not yet. Evening came, and with it, a cautious knock at the door, this time Iruka. Naruto stood in the middle of the room, fists clenched, ready for anger, for disappointment, for the moment when even Iruka gave up on him. But Iruka just sighed, closing the door softly behind him. He looked tired, lines carved deep around his eyes. "I talked to Hinata," Iruka began, voice steady but gentle. "She's frightened, but she said you saved her life." Naruto looked down, scuffing his heel against the floor. "She's afraid of me now, everyone is." Iruka came closer, laying a warm, heavy hand on Naruto's shoulder. "What happened today was beyond anyone's expectations. Even the Jonin can't explain it. But fear is a part of life, Naruto, so is forgiveness. What matters is what you do next." Naruto's breath caught. What if I can't control it? What if the monster comes out again? Iruka squeezed his shoulder. "Then you'll ask for help, you'll try again, you're not alone, not now, not ever." The words hit him like a blow, gentler than any curse but more powerful than any jutsu. Naruto swallowed, trying to let it sink in. Iruka smiled, the familiar, tired way that said he was worried but still proud. "You're going to come with me tomorrow. We're going to see someone who might be able to help." Naruto nodded, the knot in his chest loosening just a little. When Iruka left, Naruto lay awake, staring at the stars flickering between the clouds. He wondered who he was, the monster, the savior, the vessel, or just a boy who refused to run. He drifted to sleep with that question turning in his mind, and for the first time in days, the laughter in his dreams faded, replaced by a memory of sunlight and hope. Naruto woke before sunrise, the memory of Hinata's scream echoing in his chest. For a moment he couldn't move, heart trapped between guilt and dread, but Iruka's words, the promise of help, of not being alone, anchored him. He dressed, pulling on his favorite jacket with hands that shook a little less than yesterday. The village was quiet, mist drifting through empty streets. At the edge of the training field, he found Sakura waiting. She stood beneath a willow, arms folded, fatigue in every line of her face. She looked up as he approached, her concern mixed with an odd sort of resolve. "Hinata's awake," Sakura said softly. "She's talking, not much, but she asked about you." Naruto's heart jolted. "She did?" Sakura nodded. "She said she remembers darkness, a pressure like her soul was being crushed. But then she said she saw you, fighting something, that you looked different but it was still you. She said she felt safe even when she was scared." Naruto let out a shaky breath. For the first time since the incident, a sliver of hope slid through the dread. Sakura continued, "She's not the only one scared, Naruto. The Jonin, the ANBU, even Iruka-sensei, but they're watching to see what you do next. So am I." She touched his arm, voice fierce. "Prove them wrong, show them you're not just a vessel." He nodded, the words fueling a fire in his belly. Iruka arrived soon after with a scroll under his arm and exhaustion darkening his eyes. "Let's go," he said. "There's someone you need to meet." They moved through the quiet village, side by side. Every few blocks, Naruto caught glimpses of ANBU in the shadows, their masks tracking his movements, hands never far from their weapons. Whispers followed them, suspicion thick as fog, but Naruto kept his chin high. They reached the Hokage's tower, passing under the looming gaze of stone faces. Iruka led Naruto through a back entrance, down twisting stairs into a chamber lined with seals and talismans. At the center waited a man Naruto barely knew, one of the old council elders, wrapped in formal robes, his expression unreadable. Iruka bowed. "Honored elder, this is Naruto Uzumaki." The elder's gaze was sharp as a blade. "You carry the king's burden." Naruto felt the weight of those words, heavier than any curse. Iruka handed over the scroll. The elder unrolled it, nodding as he traced the runes and sigils. "This is not the first time the vessel's power has emerged. There are stories always ending in disaster, always with blood, yet this time you hesitate. That may be the only thing standing between us and calamity." Naruto bristled. "I'm not going to let a monster take over, I'll prove it." The elder regarded him for a long moment. The fate of the village may depend on that boy, and there are forces now in motion, curse users drawn to the king's fingers. Someone is gathering them and they're not working alone. A chill ran down Naruto's spine. He remembered the masked stranger, the bundle tossed at his feet, the promise of a hunt. The elder pressed a small tag into Naruto's palm, an Afuda marked with blood-red ink. This will slow the pull of the finger, but the more you use your power, the thinner that barrier will become. Choose wisely when to unleash it. Naruto clenched his fist around the tag. I won't let the monster win. The elder nodded, then dismissed them with a wave. Back in the sunlight, Iruka paused at the top of the stairs, hand on Naruto's shoulder. You don't have to face this alone, Naruto. Even the strongest people need help, remember that. They walked together through the square. People stared, some with awe, others with fear. Naruto felt their eyes, but he kept moving, a little taller with every step. Sakura caught up, relief washing over her face when she saw him. Come on, let's check on Hinata together. At the clinic, Hinata was awake, sitting up in bed, her eyes shadowed but bright. She looked at Naruto, then quickly away, cheeks pink. Naruto swallowed. I'm sorry, I never wanted to scare you. Hinata shook her head. You saved me. I saw two of you for a second, but I knew which one was you. She took a shaky breath. I'm not afraid of you, Naruto. Sakura sat beside her, giving Naruto a small nod. The air between them was fragile but not broken. As the afternoon wore on, the village buzzed with rumors of monsters, curses, secret battles fought in the night. But for Naruto, a tiny seed of hope had taken root. Maybe he wasn't the monster in his dreams after all. Maybe if he clung to that hope, he could become something more. But as dusk fell, a shadow flickered at the edge of his vision. He glanced up, heart leaping. On the far rooftop, silhouetted against the dying light, stood the masked stranger, the one who had given him the cursed finger. The man held up a second, glinting in the sun, before melting into darkness. Naruto's blood ran cold. He remembered the elder's warning, someone is gathering the fingers, and they were getting closer. Inside his mind, the old voice stirred, hungry and eager. It's almost time, little king. Will you claim your birthright, or will you run from it forever? Naruto turned away from the window, jaw set. The hunt had begun. And this time, he wouldn't run, not from the village, not from himself, and not from the monster within. Sasuke waited for him at the edge of the forest, black eyes reflecting nothing but storm and challenge. The last streaks of sunset tangled in the leaves above, painting the shadows crimson and gold. Naruto felt the distance between them, a line drawn sharper and deeper than ever before. You ran, Sasuke said, his voice quiet but unyielding. Yesterday, after the domain, you ran from her, from everyone. Naruto bristled, stung by the truth in those words. I wasn't running, I was. Sasuke stepped forward, cutting him off. You think you're the only one who's ever been afraid of what you are. You're not the only one with something inside you that could destroy everything. Naruto flinched, the words too close, too raw. He thought of the hunger that gnawed at him, the laughter behind his eyes, the way the world had bent and bled at his touch. Then why are you here? Naruto shot back. To gloat, to prove you're better. Sasuke's lips curled in a half smirk, but there was no real humor in it. No, I'm here because I need to know if you're going to be my rival or just another thing I have to kill someday. Naruto's pulse quickened. He felt the old fire rise in him, defiance and pride burning away the fog of fear. I'm not your enemy, Sasuke, I'm still me. Prove it. The word hung between them, heavy and inescapable. For a moment, neither moved. Then Sasuke dropped into a fighting stance, eyes sharp as shuriken. Show me, Sasuke challenged. Show me you're still in control. Naruto hesitated, the weight of every eye in the village on his back, the memory of Hinata's terror pulsing like a bruise. He wants to see the monster, the voice purred inside him. Give him what he wants. Naruto gritted his teeth. Fine, but if you're so eager to see what's inside me, don't complain when it's more than you bargained for. Sasuke lunged, fast as lightning, a fist aimed for Naruto's jaw. Naruto dodged, feeling the strange energy coil in his belly, a rush of power, dark and wild, straining at the leash. Their bodies moved in perfect counterpoint, kick, block, slide, strike. Sasuke's eyes flickered red, the sharing and spinning, reading every twitch, every feint. Naruto pushed harder, letting his chakra surge but holding back the curse, the thing that wanted to break free. But Sasuke wasn't pulling any punches. He pressed the attack, a blur of fists and fury. Naruto blocked a kick, only for Sasuke to vanish, reappearing behind him. Naruto spun, a Rasengan forming in his hand, swirling with his usual chakra, then without warning, something else twisted through it. A seam of red-black energy, a howl in his veins. Sasuke's eyes widened at the sight. He darted away, only to circle and lash out again, this time a burst of fire, the great fireball jutsu lighting up the dusk. Naruto leapt above the flames, his Rasengan growing wilder, cursed marks flickering up his arms. He hurled it, and the orb slammed into a tree, shearing it in half with a hiss of smoke. Sasuke landed a few yards away, breathing hard. "You're not even trying to hide it, are you?" Naruto's vision swam. For a moment, everything went double, 2 sets of hands, 4 pupils. The world sharpened, every sound too loud, every color too bright. He saw Sasuke's chakra swirling turbulent. He saw his own, a storm crowned in crimson. The voice inside pushed, urging him on. Show him what it means to be king, break him. Naruto shook his head, sweat beading on his brow. No, I won't. Sasuke moved faster than before, too fast. Naruto barely blocked, their forearms crashing together with bone-rattling force. Sasuke's killing intent blazed, a force Naruto felt in his marrow. But then from somewhere deeper, something else answered. The marks on Naruto's skin flared, his eyes burning. For a terrifying instant, Sasuke stumbled, his breath catching, his body refusing to move. Fear flickered across his face, real, raw, undeniable. Naruto saw it, felt it, and it hurt. He forced the energy down, slammed the door on the monster inside. He broke away, chest heaving, fighting to remember who he was. Sasuke stood still, arms shaking. That wasn't chakra, that wasn't you. Naruto didn't know what to say. He didn't know if Sasuke was right. The silence stretched, brittle as glass. Finally, Sasuke let out a shaky breath, stepping back. Whatever that was, it was killing intent, not human. You have to control it, Naruto. If you can't, the next time I won't hold back. Naruto nodded, jaw tight. I know. Sasuke turned away, pausing at the tree line. Don't make me your enemy, Naruto. I want my rival back, not a curse. Then he was gone, vanishing into the twilight. Naruto stood alone, shivering in the hush that followed. He stared at his hands, at the fatting marks, at the place where the Rasengan had sliced through living wood as if it were air. He wanted to scream, to run, to be normal. But the king inside only laughed, and the sound echoed in the growing dark. Naruto lingered in the forest long after Sasuke vanished, the silence pressing down on him like a second skin. His breath finally slowed, but his nerves still sang with the echo of that power, his, but not his, something ancient pushing at the seams of his mind. He punched a tree once, twice, 3 times until the bark cracked and blood trickled from his knuckles. The pain was a small comfort, proof that he was still flesh and bone, not just a vessel for monsters and curses. A breeze shifted through the branches, carrying the sounds of the village, voices distant and anxious, the clang of a blacksmith, the laughter of children who hadn't seen the morning's chaos. Life, stubbornly continuing even as Naruto's own world tilted on its axis. He wiped his hand on his jacket and trudged back toward Konoha. Each step felt heavier, as if the earth itself was reluctant to let him pass. When he reached the main road, he found Sakura waiting for him. She leaned against the fence, arms crossed, eyes sharp and searching. "Did you fight?" she asked, not unkindly. Naruto shrugged, staring at the ground. "Sasuke wanted to see if I was still me." "And are you?" Sakura pressed, her voice gentle. He tried to answer, but the words tangled in his chest. I don't know." She stepped closer, searching his face. "Did you hurt him?" He shook his head. He was scared, though. I could feel it like everyone else. Sakura's expression softened. She touched his wrist, her fingers brushing the scabbed-over wounds. "He'll come around, he always does." "Not if I lose control," Naruto muttered, shame rising like bile. "I felt something inside me. It wanted to hurt him. I barely stopped it." Sakura squeezed his hand. "But you did stop it, that matters, and next time you won't be alone, I'll help you, we all will." He nodded, the knot in his chest loosening a fraction. They walked together toward the academy, the world quieter than usual. People watched from doorways and windows as they passed, curiosity and caution flickering in every glance. Word of the domain expansion, and now the fight with Sasuke had traveled fast. Mothers pulled their children closer. Older genin whispered, eyes darting between Naruto and the shadows. Naruto felt the weight of their fear. He wondered if he would ever be more than the monster in their stories. At the school gate, Iruka waited, a worried furrow in his brow. You both okay? Sakura nodded, glancing at Naruto. We're fine, just tired. Iruka gestured them inside. Kakashi-sensei is waiting, he wants to talk. Naruto stiffened. Am I in trouble? Iruka's gaze was steady. No, he just wants to understand what happened to you and Sasuke both, and to help if you'll let him. Naruto hesitated, but the memory of the old voice's laughter and Sasuke's pale face spurred him forward. He couldn't keep running, not anymore. They followed Iruka through empty halls to the teacher's lounge, where Kakashi leaned against the far wall, his single visible eye narrowed, unreadable. He waved lazily. Yo. Sakura bowed. Naruto just fidgeted, hands stuffed in his pockets. Kakashi studied Naruto for a long moment, then closed his book and straightened. You've changed, Naruto, not just your power, but your presence. The ANBU are on edge. Even Kurama is quiet. That's not normal. Naruto tensed. I know, I can't help it. Kakashi held up a hand. I'm not blaming you, but we need to figure out what this curse energy actually is before someone gets hurt, before you get hurt. Naruto looked away. I already did hurt someone. Kakashi's voice softened, a rare hint of true concern in it. But you're here, you're asking for help, that's more than most would do. He turned to Iruka. There's an old friend of mine in the land of rivers. He studied strange chakra long before anyone knew what it really was. We need to talk to him. Iruka nodded, already making plans. We'll go tomorrow at first light. Kakashi looked back at Naruto, his gaze unreadable but warm. Get some rest, trust your friends, trust yourself even when it's hard. That's how you'll win, Naruto. Naruto nodded, feeling a faint flicker of hope. As they left, he caught Sakura's eye. She smiled, tired but genuine. For the first time in days, Naruto felt a little less alone. But as he stepped outside, he caught a glimpse of a figure on a distant rooftop, a tall, thin shadow with eyes that gleamed like knives, watching him, waiting. Naruto shivered, the promise of another confrontation heavy in the dusk. The sun dipped below the rooftops, the last light smearing the sky red and violet. Naruto walked with Sakura back through the winding village streets, every shadow feeling sharper, every whisper seeming to follow him. Still, he tried to keep his head up, if only because Sakura was there, refusing to look away. When they reached the crossroads near the market, she paused, catching his sleeve. You don't have to go through this alone, Sakura said, voice fierce. And you're not a monster, not to me, not to Hinata, not even to Sasuke. No matter what happens, remember that. Naruto nodded, throat tight. Thanks, Sakura. She hesitated a moment, as if she might say more, but then she just squeezed his hand and turned down the path toward her own home, glancing over her shoulder with a worried smile. He lingered at the crossroads, letting the quiet settle around him. For a moment, the world felt almost normal, children's laughter in the distance, a dog barking, the soft clatter of a merchant's cart. But underneath it all, the tension hummed, growing stronger with every step he took. He wandered, letting his feet guide him until he found himself back at the old bridge on the edge of town. Here, the river ran swift and dark, the air cool and heavy with mist. He leaned on the railing, staring into the water, trying to see something, anything, that would make sense of the chaos inside him. For a few minutes, he just listened to the water, tried to breathe, tried to believe what Sakura and Iruka had told him. But the quiet didn't last. A stone skittered across the bridge behind him. Naruto stiffened, his senses flaring. He turned, eyes scanning the gloom. A figure stood at the far end, silhouetted by the faint light of a lantern. Tall, thin, wrapped in a tattered cloak, his presence was wrong, so wrong that even the shadows seemed to recoil. The man's voice was low, smooth as oil, and horribly familiar. You're stronger than they said. I saw your domain, felt its edges from across the village. Naruto's fists clenched. You're the one with the fingers. What do you want? The stranger stepped forward, moonlight glinting off the strange marks twinning up his arms. His face was hidden behind a porcelain mask, painted with two jagged mouths, one smiling, one screaming. I came to see if the vessel was worth all the stories, he said. And to warn you, others are coming. Hunters, collectors, things far worse than curses or foxes. The age of peace is ending, little king. Your power is calling them, whether you like it or not. Naruto's jaw clenched. I won't let you hurt anyone in this village. The man laughed, the sound cold and mirthless. You think you have a choice? Even now, the boundaries between worlds are breaking. That power you flaunt, it's a beacon. They're coming for the fingers, for you, for all those you care about. Naruto felt the curse energy twist inside him, cold and urgent. I'll fight them, all of them. I'll protect everyone. That's my Nindo. The man's eyes glittered behind the mask. Let's hope you can, because if you fail, there won't be a Konoha left to save. He turned, melting into the fog. We'll meet again, vessel. Enjoy what time you have left. The air grew lighter as the stranger vanished, but the words echoed long after. Naruto gripped the railing until his knuckles whitened. He stared into the water, seeing not his own face but 4 eyes, 2 mouths, a twisted crown. Inside his mind, the old king's laughter rose, dark and delighted. They're coming, little king, your rivals, your hunters. Will you run or will you rise? Naruto straightened, the fear in his chest hardened to resolve. He would not run, not from the hunters, not from himself. He turned back toward the village, the bridge fading into shadow behind him. The hunt for the fingers had begun, but now, for the first time, he wasn't just afraid, he was ready. Somewhere far away, thunder rumbled, and the future shifted on its axis. Naruto had always believed that training could fix anything: loneliness, doubt, the ache of being left behind. Sweat and effort had built his dreams, patched the cracks in his heart. But now, as he stared at his own shaking hands, he wondered if he was only breaking himself further. The air in the clearing was still and heavy, summer's heat pressing down through the trees. Team 7 had gathered for a rare afternoon without teachers, just Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto, trying to pretend that life was almost normal. Sasuke leaned against a stump, arms crossed, face unreadable. Sakura stood at the edge of the training ground, kunai in hand, her expression determined but anxious. Let's run through Taijutsu again, Sakura said, forcing cheer into her voice. Like old times, right? Naruto tried to match her smile, but it came out crooked. Yeah, just like old times. They circled each other, moving in familiar patterns: punch, block, dodge, sweep. For a while, the rhythm soothed him, letting him forget the monster lurking under his skin. But each blow, each burst of speed, drew more and more on the well of energy inside him, the well that wasn't entirely his. Sasuke watched them, gaze intent, a flicker of worry passing through his eyes every time Naruto's movements blurred, every time a mark crawled across his forearm before fading. Sakura threw a punch. Naruto caught her wrist, spinning her around. She broke free, ducked, swept his legs. He leapt over her, landing lightly, but a surge of power flared, red-black and hungry, just as she lunged again. He reached out to block her, but his fingers tingled, markings blooming up his arms. The monster's voice rose, laughing. Let her see what you really are. Naruto tried to pull back, but the energy lashed out. A line of cursed force, invisible but sharp as a blade, snapped from his palm and grazed Sakura's shoulder. She cried out, staggering back. Blood welled up bright and sudden. For a moment, time stopped. Sasuke was at her side in a blur, pressing a cloth to the wound. Sakura's face was white, her breath coming in sharp gasps. The cut was shallow, but the skin around it bruised with a sickly, black-purple stain. Naruto stood frozen, horror crashing over him. No, 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 no. Sasuke's eyes blazed. What the hell, Naruto? Are you even trying to control it? Naruto fell to his knees, shaking. I didn't mean to, I swear I. His words broke, his vision blurring. Sakura looked at him, her face twisted with pain and confusion. Naruto. He reached out, but Sasuke blocked him, his glare colder than steel. Stay back, you've done enough. Naruto's hands trembled. He stared at the blood, at the curse mark already fading, at the look in Sakura's eyes, a mixture of fear, concern, and heartbreak. He stumbled away, half-blind, the trees spinning around him. He ran, the monster's laughter roaring in his ears. He didn't know how far he ran or how long before his strength gave out. He collapsed in a grove outside the village, breath ragged, face streaked with sweat and tears. He pressed his hands to his head, digging his fingers into his scalp. Why can't I control it? Why am I so broken? There was no answer but the wind, the old voice purring, "You're not broken, you're evolving. The strong leave the weak behind. That's the law of kings." "I'm not a king," Naruto spat, voice raw. "I'm a monster. I hurt my friends. He couldn't finish, the words choked him. He curled into himself, rocking back and forth, memories of Sakura's pain replaying over and over. He heard the distant sound of running feet, someone searching for him, calling his name, but he couldn't answer. He was afraid if he opened his mouth, it would be the curse that spoke. Images flashed behind his eyes, Hinata's terror, Sasuke's fear, Sakura's bleeding shoulder. He saw himself, crowned in red, four-armed and smiling, while everyone he loved fled from his shadow. For the first time, Naruto wondered if he truly could fight what was inside him, or if all he could do was watch as it consumed everything good in his life. He sobbed, the sound muffled against his arms. For a long time, he let himself break, letting out everything he'd held inside, the fear, the shame, the desperate hope that maybe he could still be someone worth saving. He didn't notice the sun slipping down, or the long shadows creeping closer. He barely heard the footsteps as someone approached, slow, careful, cautious. When he finally looked up, Sakura was standing over him, one arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage, her face pale but determined. She sat down close but not touching. For a while, she said nothing. She just breathed with him, slow and steady, letting the silence do its work. When she finally spoke, her voice was gentle but strong. "Naruto, I'm scared too, not of you, of what's happening, of losing you to this thing." He shook his head, tears still streaming. "You should be afraid, I can't even control myself, I could have killed you." She swallowed, then took his hand, careful but firm. "But you didn't, you stopped, and you ran away instead of letting it win. That means you're still fighting." Naruto stared at their joined hands, the blood on his fingers, the stain on her bandage. "I want to be stronger," he whispered. "Not just for me, for all of you, but the more I fight, the more it takes. What if one day, there's nothing left of me?" Sakura squeezed his hand tighter. "Then we'll fight together. I'll find a way to help you, Naruto. I promise, you're not alone." For the first time in hours, Naruto let himself believe her. He closed his eyes, breathing in the warmth of her hand, letting it anchor him to himself, to the boy he still wanted to be. They sat in the quiet until the sky deepened from blue to indigo, the first stars pricking through the dusk. The ache in Naruto's chest dulled, replaced by a raw exhaustion. Sakura finally let go of his hand, flexing her injured arm, then tore off a strip of her sleeve to reinforce the makeshift bandage. Naruto's voice was small. "Does it hurt?" Sakura gave a wobbly smile. "A bit, but I've had worse, usually from Kiba's dog." She tried to lighten the mood, but there was no hiding the tremor in her hands. He looked away, shame twisting through him. "I'm sorry, Sakura, Stop," she shook her head, fierce now. "No more apologizing. If we're going to fix this, we need answers. That power in you, what if it can be studied? Maybe there's a way to separate it from you, or at least control it. I'll help find out." He blinked at her, surprised. "You want to research it?" Sakura nodded, determination in her eyes. "I'm good at chakra theory and medical ninjutsu. I can study what's happening to you and maybe help you learn to use it safely." She touched her chest. "I'm tired of just worrying. I want to do something." A small, real smile tugged at Naruto's mouth for the first time since the accident. "Thank you. I don't want to be afraid of myself anymore." A distant rustling caught their attention. Sasuke emerged from the trees, hands shoved in his pockets, eyes sharp but less hostile. "You're alive," he said, not quite a question. Sakura shot him a look. "Of course we are, thanks for your concern." Sasuke ignored the sarcasm, gaze shifting to Naruto. "The elders are getting nervous. I heard them talking about seals, about exiling you if it gets worse." Naruto flinched, but Sakura cut in, voice tight. "He's not a threat, not to us." Sasuke's stare softened just a fraction. "That's not for us to decide, but if they come for you, I won't let them take you without a fight." The words hung in the air, heavier than any promise. Sasuke stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You have to learn to use that power, Naruto, on your terms, or it'll eat you alive." Naruto nodded, heart thudding. "I know, but how?" Sasuke glanced at Sakura, then back to Naruto. "Let her help you, train together, don't hide it. If you master it, they'll have to accept you." Sakura straightened, a new resolve in her voice. "Starting tomorrow, we'll study everything. Chakra, seals, medical records, whatever we can find, you're not alone in this, Naruto, we're with you. A new warmth sparked in Naruto's chest. He wasn't healed, not yet, but maybe with them at his side, he could find his way. As the trio made their way back to the village, a hush fell over them, not fear, but a kind of battered hope. The stars wheeled overhead, and Naruto felt, for the first time in days, that maybe he could keep moving forward. But the world was already shifting. Later that night, Sakura sat hunched at her desk, the medical texts and scrolls piled high, her injured arm throbbing as she scribbled notes. She replayed the fight in her mind, the sensation of that cursed cut, the heat and the cold twisting together. There was a pattern to it, a pulse, a rhythm different from chakra. She reached for her chakra-sensing gloves, focusing on her own wound. When she let chakra flow into the bruise, it flickered oddly as if something inside resisted healing. She prodded deeper and felt a strange resonance, old, foreign, layered over her own energy like an echo. Her eyes widened. Not a poison, not a simple curse, something living, intelligent, something that wanted to survive even as it fed on her pain. A cold sweat broke over her brow. I have to warn him, she breathed, scribbling a note. Cursed energy is semi-sentient. It can linger, beware secondary contamination. Just as she finished, a shadow fell across her desk. She jerked upright, only to see Kakashi in the window, eye narrowed in concern. I heard about the accident, he said quietly. You're not the only one investigating. The Hawkage ordered a full review. Keep your notes secret, Sakura, for Naruto's sake. She nodded, heart hammering. Kakashi disappeared, but his warning lingered. Not everyone in Konoha wants to help. Some want to control, some want to destroy. She clutched her bandaged arm and went back to her research, more determined than ever. The next day dawned bright and hot, but Naruto felt a chill as he walked through the market with Sasuke and Sakura. Whispers trailed after them, parents pulling children aside, older shinobi keeping their distance. At the edge of the village, Iruka waited. He looked them over, his usual warmth tempered by caution. You three are to train in a sealed field under supervision, he said. No exceptions, we need to keep everyone safe, including you. Naruto met his teacher's gaze, shame and gratitude swirling inside him. I'll do my best. Iruka squeezed his shoulder. That's all I ever ask. They walked to the field in silence, the sun glaring overhead. But as they passed an alley, Naruto felt a chill. A scrap of blood-stained cloth fluttered in the dust, a warning or a threat. He turned but saw only shadows, the alley empty. The king's voice was a whisper. Every wound leaves a mark, Naruto, on you, on your friends. Even now, the world is watching. Even now, the game is changing. He swallowed, fists clenched. He would fight not just for himself, but for all of them. No more running. The training field Iruka led them to was on the edge of the village, ringed with tall stones etched with ancient sealing marks. ANBU watched from the perimeter, their masks emotionless and cold. For a moment, Naruto felt less like a student and more like a prisoner. Iruka tried to lighten the mood. The seals here are strong enough to contain a rampaging tailed beast, so don't hold back. We'll keep you safe and everyone else too. Sasuke stretched, face set in grim determination. Let's start. Sakura, her arm still bandaged, had brought a thick folder of notes. She held them tight, eyes flicking between Naruto and her research. All right, Naruto, she said, voice trembling just a little. I want to try something. When you feel the curse energy, don't suppress it. Let it flow, but focus on me. I'll watch for any patterns, and I'll try to use my chakra to interfere if it gets out of control. Iruka and Sasuke positioned themselves between Naruto and the edge of the field, ready to intervene. Naruto nodded, swallowing his fear. He closed his eyes, breathed deep, and let go of the tight grip he kept on the thing inside him. Power surged, a tide of red and black, marks spiraling up his arms, pupils splitting and reforming. The hunger pressed at the edges, a growling, ancient thing begging to be unleashed. But Naruto locked his eyes on Sakura's. She poured chakra into her hands, forming a barrier between them, pushing back against the flood. For a moment, the curse and her healing energy battled, neither giving ground. Sasuke stepped forward, sharing and spinning. You're doing it, Naruto, you're controlling it. Naruto gritted his teeth. The urge to slice was almost overwhelming. He He felt the world thin, saw the seals around the field glow in warning. Sweat rolled down his temples. Suddenly, Sakura gasped, "I see it, a pattern in the energy, like a seal but twisted, if I push my chakra into the wound." She pressed her glowing palm to her own injured arm, focusing. The bandage smoldered as curse energy sizzled. For a heartbeat, Naruto felt something in himself snap, the curse lashing out, then collapsing inward. The marks on Naruto's arms faded. He fell to his knees, gasping. Sakura slumped, exhausted but triumphant. "It worked," she breathed. "I forced the curse to react to my chakra instead of yours. It's like the energy tries to infect whatever it touches, but if we treat it as a living thing, disrupt its rhythm, it weakens." Iruka beamed. "That's incredible, Sakura." Sasuke looked thoughtful, already plotting ways to weaponize and defend. "We can use that if Naruto starts to lose control. Sakura can counteract it, but only if she's nearby." Naruto sat up, a shaky smile breaking through the fatigue. For the first time, he felt hope, real hope, that he wasn't doomed to become a monster. But the victory was short-lived. A sharp, sudden alarm rang out across the field. The ANBU tensed, weapons drawn. The seals on the stones flickered, some sputtering out. From the far side of the field, figures emerged, dark cloaks swirling with cursed energy, masks painted with grotesque, toothy grins. One of them, a tall woman with snake tattoos, stepped forward, her voice hissing through the air. "Found you, vessel. Hand over the king's finger and maybe we'll let your friends live." Iruka moved to shield the students. Sasuke and Sakura fell into fighting stances, but Naruto was already on his feet, curse energy boiling in his veins. "No," he said, voice shaking with rage and resolve. "You're not hurting anyone." The woman laughed, her companions fanning out. "You don't even know what you're carrying, do you? That power will eat you alive, and then we'll pick up the pieces." The ANBU attacked, but the curse users moved like shadows, weaving through the defenses, targeting Naruto. Sakura shouted, "Naruto, behind you." He spun just as a curse user lunged, talons wreathed in black flame. The world slowed. Naruto reached for the energy inside, calling on it, but this time he shaped it not as a weapon but as a shield, remembering Sakura's trick. A wave of cursed force exploded out, forming a wall between himself and the attackers. The woman shrieked, flinching back. But it wasn't enough. One of the curse users slipped through, aiming a knife straight at Sakura. Naruto saw red. He let go. The world erupted in a flash of marks and crimson energy. When he came back to himself, 3 curse users lay sprawled at the edge of the field, unconscious or worse. The woman and her remaining ally had vanished, leaving behind a swirl of dying embers and broken grass. But Sakura was crumpled on the ground, unmoving. Naruto crawled to her side, hands shaking. "No, no, no, Sakura, please." Her eyes fluttered open, pain and exhaustion etched deep. "I'm okay," she whispered. "I think, but the curse, it's different now, it's part of me." Naruto choked back a sob. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean." She grabbed his hand, grip fierce despite her weakness. "Don't apologize, not ever, we'll figure this out together." Iruka knelt beside them, worry warring with pride. Sasuke watched, torn between relief and frustration. But Naruto's heart hammered with a new terror. For the first time, Sakura's chakra felt wrong, twisted at the edges, marked by his curse. As the ANBU swept the field, collecting the unconscious attackers, Naruto looked up at the stars, hopping for comfort, fearing what was coming. Inside, the king laughed, and the darkness pressed a little closer. Morning found Naruto awake before dawn, sitting cross-legged on his apartment roof, watching the village slowly come to life beneath a bruised sky. For once, the old voice was silent, sulking maybe or brooding over last night's events. Sakura was alive but changed. The curse was inside her now, a secret they'd both have to bear. He watched the sun break over the rooftops, light painting the streets gold and copper. The village was still, but the air felt restless, a hush before another storm. A soft thump broke the peace. Kakashi landed beside him, hands in his pockets, eye creased in a smile above his mask. "Couldn't sleep," Kakashi said. Naruto shook his head, not bothering to hide the fatigue. "Too much in my head." Kakashi gazed out over the village, thoughtful. "You've been through a lot, more than anyone your age should." Naruto huffed a laugh. It's not just me anymore. The curse, Sakura's got it too. It's like everything I touch gets infected. Kakashi studied him, serious now. You're not the only one to blame. There are forces at work here none of us understand. That's why I've been doing some digging. He reached into his vest and produced a battered journal, thick with notes and old, faded seals. For years, I thought chakra was the only energy that mattered in this world. I was wrong. There's something else, a current that runs beneath everything. You and Sakura are proof of that. Naruto stared, curiosity wrestling with dread. You've seen it before. Kakashi nodded. Once, on a mission in the land of snow, I saw a curse user tear apart a squad with invisible blades, techniques no shinobi could block. I tried to copy them with my Sharingan, but it wasn't chakra, it was something darker. When I got back, I started collecting stories, scraps, anything I could find. He flipped through the journal, showing Naruto sketches, strange marks, diagrams of energy flows, notes in half a dozen languages. Most people who get too close to this stuff end up dead, possessed, or worse. But there's a pattern. It's like music. Cursed energy is chaotic, but it can be tamed, shaped by willpower, by rules. Naruto leaned closer. Rules. Kakashi nodded. That's why your power reacts differently every time. When you're protecting someone, it shields. When you're scared or angry, it lashes out. The old records call it a domain, the space where your will is law. If you can learn to set the rules, you can control what happens inside. But lose focus and the king inside might write his own. Naruto's mind spun with possibility and fear. So what do I do? Kakashi closed the journal, meeting his eyes. You train, not just your body or your chakra, but your heart. You learn who you are and what you stand for. And you trust your friends to pull you back if you start to lose yourself. Naruto grinned, a spark of hope lighting in his chest. Guess I'm lucky I've got the best team in the world. Kakashi's smile deepened. That you do. Later that morning, the Hokage called Team 7 to a secluded training ground far from the village. ANBU ringed the perimeter, silent and watchful. Iruka was there, as were Sakura and Sasuke, Sakura with her arm newly bandaged, Sasuke with his Sharingan already spinning, wary. Tsunade's voice was all business. We need to understand what you're dealing with, Naruto. Kakashi will oversee your training. Sakura, Sasuke, you'll assist. We're going to push the curse as far as we can, safely. Kakashi stepped forward. The goal isn't to defeat the king inside you, it's to learn his rules so you can write your own. Naruto took a steadying breath. Let's do this. They started simple, meditation control exercises, the slow unfurling of cursed energy into shapes and lines. Kakashi placed chakra tags around the field, tracking every surge, every fluctuation. Sasuke watched, sharing and analyzing the flow, calling out when the curse began to twist or spiral out of control. Sakura stood by, her hand glowing with healing energy, ready to disrupt the curse if it lashed out. At first, it was agony. Every time Naruto touched the curse, it burned, fighting him, mocking him, threatening to drown him in laughter and blood. But with Kakashi's guidance, he learned to nudge it, to redirect it, to anchor it to a thought or a memory. Think of something you want to protect, Kakashi said. Give the energy a purpose. Naruto closed his eyes, picturing Sakura's pale face, Sasuke's determined scowl, Iruka's gentle smile, the village he loved. The curse shivered, recoiled, then settled just for a moment. A line of red-black energy rippled from his palm, slicing through a boulder and stopping cold at the next seal. The air trembled, but the power didn't run wild. Sasuke let out a breath. He's controlling it. Sakura smiled, relief flooding her face. Keep going, Naruto. He gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his brow. He pushed harder, shaping the energy into new forms, blades, shields, ripples in the earth. Each time it hurt less, as if the power was slowly learning him as much as he was learning it. But it was still hungry, still watching. Kakashi stepped closer, lowering his voice. Now try this, combine it with chakra, see if you can make something new. Naruto hesitated, fear flaring, but he nodded, calling up a swirl of chakra in one hand and curse in the other. The two energies warred, blue and red, hope and hunger. He pressed them together, forcing them to merge. The world wavered. For a heartbeat, he glimpsed something, a temple, a crown, a field of hands reaching for him. Then the energies fused, bursting outward in a sphere of crackling light. It didn't explode, it didn't devour, it just was. Naruto fell to one knee, gasping, but the smile on his face was wild and victorious. I did it, he whispered. I really did it. Tsunade nodded, a rare look of approval on her face. That's a start, kid. Kakashi clapped him on the shoulder. Told you so. But in the hush that followed, a shadow moved at the edge of the field, unseen by all but one. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. We're being watched. A sharp wind swept across the field, carrying the scent of rain and something foul like old blood and rotting leaves. At the edge of the trees, 3 figures stepped into the sunlight, their forms shifting with a sickly shimmer. All wore masks, one in the shape of a wolf, one twisted in a perpetual scream, and the last with 2 faces, one laughing, one weeping. The ANBU tensed, weapons drawn, but the masked strangers ignored them. Their eyes were fixed on Naruto. The leader, a tall man in the wolf mask, spoke first. So this is the vessel. Impressive. We felt the ripples of your training halfway across the border. Tsunade moved to shield her students. State your purpose. The wolf mask laughed, a cold, bitter sound. We come with a simple proposition. Hand over the king's finger and the vessel, and we'll spare your village. Refuse and Konoha will know what it means to draw the wrath of true curses. Sasuke moved to Naruto's side, sharing and blazing. Sakura's hands glowed with chakra, her stance steady despite her bandaged arm. Kakashi stepped between the strangers and his team, calm but deadly. Naruto's fear was there, hot and sour in his gut, but so was the new control he'd found. He stood tall. We're not going anywhere, and you're not touching anyone in this village. The leader sneered, so be it. The curse users moved as one too fast for ordinary eyes, weaving through the ANBU like shadows, releasing pulses of twisted energy that withered grass and cracked stone. One hurled a spear of black flame at Tsunade, who shattered it with a single punch. Another leapt for Sakura, claws aimed at her throat. Naruto reacted on instinct. He called the curse energy up not as a blade but as a shield, just as he'd practiced. The marks spiraled over his skin, and for a moment the world slowed. He saw everything: the line of attack, the shape of Sakura's fear, the dark thread tying the enemy's movements together. He pushed the curse outward, letting his will shape the domain. Nothing touches my friends, not while I stand. The enemy's claws struck the shield and rebounded with a screech of pain. Sakura seized the opening, driving her chakra-enhanced fist into the attacker's gut, sending them flying. Sasuke blurred through the chaos, intercepting the second curse user with a flurry of fire and lightning. The air crackled with jutsu and raw, malignant power. Kakashi and Tsunade kept the final attacker pinned, their combined strength holding back a tide of darkness. The wolf-masked leader spat blood, eyes wild with disbelief. Impossible, you're just children. Naruto advanced, the shield of curse energy pulsing around him. We're more than that, we're a team. The leader drew a wicked, blackened blade, the metal crawling with curse marks. He slashed at Naruto, and for a split second the world flickered, Sukuna's laughter echoing in Naruto's mind. Let me out, little king, show them what you truly are. Naruto gritted his teeth, denying the urge. He twisted the curse, channeling it into his hand and combining it with chakra. Blue and red spun together, forming a new technique, a swirling orb wreathed in shadow and light. Ariasinjian Malice Spiral. He drove it into the ground at the enemy's feet. The blast erupted, sucking the curse energy away from the attacker, pulling their own power into a whirling void. The wolf-masked leader howled as his mask shattered, revealing a face warped by too many curses, eyes full of hatred and beneath it, terror. He fled, stumbling into the trees, the remaining curse users on his heels. The air shimmered and stilled, the grass singed but the village untouched. Naruto fell to his knees, drained but triumphant. Sakura and Sasuke rushed to his side, helping him stand. Tsunade gave a grudging nod of approval. Kakashi's eye crinkled in a proud smile. For the first time, Naruto truly believed. I can protect them, I can fight back. But as the team gathered, the cursed finger in Naruto's pouch began to pulse, hotter and heavier than ever. Sasuke's expression darkened. This isn't over, they'll be back with more power, more hatred. Sakura touched Naruto's shoulder, her own curse wound throbbing. Then we'll be ready. But in the silence that followed, the air shifted. A single black feather drifted down from above, landing at Naruto's feet. He bent to pick it up, but the instant his fingers closed around it, a vision exploded behind his eyes. A vast field of darkness, filled with fingers, feathers, and monstrous shadows. A single voice, ancient and cold, whispered, "Not all enemies are strangers, some wear the faces of friends. Beware the traitor among you, king." Naruto staggered, dropping the feather. The team looked at him, concerned. "What is it?" Sakura asked. He shook his head, jaw clenched. "Just a warning, something coming." Far above, a black shape circled, lost against the storm clouds, watching, waiting. And deep inside, Sukuna laughed, as if he already knew how the game would end. The adrenaline faded slowly, leaving Naruto's limbs heavy and his thoughts spinning. The training field was torn and scorched, but his friends were safe and the village had been spared this time. Tsunade strode across the wreckage, her presence a storm contained by sheer force of will. "We'll need to reinforce the village defenses," she said, voice grim. "This attack proves the enemy knows exactly where to strike." Kakashi nodded, slipping his journal back into his vest. "They'll be watching us now. We can't afford to let our guard down for even a second." The ANBU gathered the remains of the fallen curse users, their masked faces unreadable. Sakura leaned against Sasuke, exhaustion etched into her features, her arm throbbing, but the curse mark faded for now. Iruka arrived, breathless and pale, relief flickering through his worry as he counted each of them whole and alive. Naruto felt their eyes on him, curiosity, fear, pride, suspicion, and wondered which was worse. Tsunade called him aside, her voice low. "The power you used was extraordinary, Naruto, but the risks are greater than you know. That black feather, it's a symbol, an omen among curse users, a sign that you're being hunted, not just by strangers but by someone close." Naruto swallowed hard, thinking of the vision of the voice's warning. Not all enemies are strangers. Some wear the faces of friends. Beware the traitor among you, King. "Do you trust your team?" Tsunade asked, eyes boring into his. He didn't hesitate. "With my life." She nodded, but the worry in her gaze didn't fade. "Trust, but be vigilant. The line between friend and enemy is thin, especially when power is at stake." Kakashi placed a gentle hand on Naruto's shoulder. "We'll watch each other's backs, that's what a team does." As dusk fell, they returned to the village together, battered but united. Sakura pressed the back of her hand to Naruto's. "I'm not afraid of what's inside you," she said softly, "and I won't let it take me either." Sasuke walked beside them, eyes scanning the shadows. "If anyone tries to use you, I'll stop them, even if it's someone we know." Iruka managed a smile. "You three are stubborn enough to change the world, don't forget that." Naruto nodded, a shaky resolve settling in his chest. No matter how dark the path ahead, he would walk it with them. But as the night deepened, Naruto couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, staring out at the village below, the cursed finger burning like an ember in his pouch. The black feather lay on his desk, as silent as a threat. He thought of the traitor the vision warned of. Was it one of his friends, a mentor, or something darker lurking inside him all along? A breeze rattled the window. Naruto pressed his hand to the glass, whispering a vow to himself and to all those he cared for. "I won't let this curse break me, I won't let it break us." But somewhere in the village, a shadow moved, a familiar step, a face glimpsed and then gone. Someone was already making their move. And in the darkness, the laughter of the King of Curses was joined by a new, colder voice, one that sounded almost like his own. "They say true storms begin in silence, a hush before the world cracks open. The day the Maelstrom Shrine was born began that way, a Konoha so still you could hear every distant bell, every nervous whisper." Naruto felt the tension running under everything, as if the village itself waited for something to break. He hadn't slept more than an hour. The cursed finger burned in his pouch, the black feather heavier than any kunai. Nightmares had haunted him. Feathers, fingers, and friends turning away, Sakura's eyes ringed with red, Sasuke's silhouette wreathed in shadow. He'd expected to find Kurama in his mindscape, snarling with anger or warning. Instead, the fox kept his distance, curled in the furthest darkness, wary and silent. The morning brought orders from Tsunade. Team 7, report to the eastern gate. Bring everything, gear, scrolls, and all the curse-sealed relics in their keeping. Iruka handed Naruto a message, his face pale. "Scouts saw Orochimaru's people near the border. They're hunting the same thing you are." Sakura, still pale but moving with new resolve, joined Naruto at the gate. Sasuke waited, eyes scanning every movement, always looking for threats. Kakashi arrived last, nodding once, his usual cheer replaced with the weight of what they were about to face. As the team moved out, villagers parted in the streets, some in awe, some in fear. A few muttered prayers, others turned away. Naruto ignored it, eyes fixed forward, every step measured. He was tired of being afraid. The forest swallowed them quickly, morning light fractured by high branches and shifting shadows. They traveled in silence, broken only by the occasional bird call or the soft crack of a branch underfoot. It was Sakura who finally spoke. If Orochimaru is really after the fingers, what does he want with them? Kakashi's eye narrowed. He's always chased immortality and forbidden power. If he gets even a piece of Sukuna's strength, he could remake the shinobi world in his own image. Sasuke's jaw tightened. Not happening, he'll have to go through us first. Naruto's hand hovered near his pouch, feeling the cursed finger pulse with every step. We can't let him have it, or any of them. Kakashi pulled the team to a halt at a narrow ravine, gesturing for silence. He handed Sakura a sealing scroll and passed Naruto a battered old talisman, marked with ancient kanji and stitched in red. Keep that close, Kakashi murmured. If things go bad, you may have to use every power you've got, even the ones you're afraid of. Naruto nodded, gripping the talisman tight. They crossed the ravine single file, wary. At the far side, the forest gave way to rocky foothills, the ground pitted with ancient, overgrown ruins. Sakura's steps slowed as she traced strange carvings on the stone. These marks, she whispered, they're just like the ones in Sukuna's shrine. This is where it started. The wind shifted, a low, sibilant laugh echoed among the ruins. Well, what a delightful gathering. Orochimaru emerged from the shadows, draped in robes, eyes bright with hungry malice. Beside him, several sound nin spread out, blocking every escape. Orochimaru's gaze lingered on Naruto, a smile curling his lips. The vessel himself, and the latest cursed finger, how lucky. Naruto's skin crawled, every instinct screaming danger. Kakashi stepped forward, kunai drawn. You're not getting anything, Orochimaru. Orochimaru ignored him, attention fixed on Naruto. You don't even know what you hold, do you? You're a child playing with the power of gods. Why not let me take that burden off your hands? Naruto felt the curse stir, hungering for violence. He stood his ground, voice steady. If you want it, come and take it. Orochimaru's grin sharpened. As you wish. The battle erupted, fast and brutal. Sound nin surged forward, chakra blades, smoke bombs, needles of poisoned steel. Sasuke met them head-on, fire and lightning dancing from his hands, sharing and blazing. Kakashi vanished and reappeared in a blur, dropping attackers before they could even draw breath. Sakura held the scroll, weaving healing and disruption, her cursed wound flaring with every contact, but her resolve unwavering. Orochimaru slithered through the chaos, his focus always on Naruto. The snake Sannin's attacks were unpredictable, chakra whips, summoned snakes, jutsu that twisted space and sense. Each time Naruto tried to meet his eyes, he felt something scraping at his mind, a hunger older than even Sukuna's laughter. Let me out, the old king whispered. Only my power can answer his. Naruto grit his teeth, refusing. He tried to use what Kakashi taught, focus, anchor, control. But every time Orochimaru pressed, the lines blurred, curse and chakra merging, the world bending at the edges. A sound ninja lunged for Sakura. Naruto reached for her, but Orochimaru intercepted, his tongue flickering like a blade. Naruto's vision split, 4 eyes, 2 mouths, a world trembling with power. Now Sukuna's voice roared, take the throne. Naruto forced the curse and chakra together, remembering Kakashi's words, give it rules, make it yours. He slammed his palm to the ground, domain expansion, maelstrom shrine. The world exploded. A shimmering sphere erupted around him, swallowing Orochimaru, several sound nin and the ancient ruins. Inside, everything changed, space rippled, carved with swirling runes and raging winds. The Rasengan's spiral churned at the core, fused with curse marks, a maelstrom of light and shadow. Orochimaru recoiled, face alight with greed and terror. Impossible. The winds howled, blades of force slicing through summoned snakes and shattering the enemy's chakra. For a heartbeat, Naruto was everywhere, every gust, every mark, every threat. Within the domain, his will was law. He saw Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi outside the barrier, frozen in awe and fear. He saw Orochimaru, trapped and screaming as the Maelstrom Shrine's power dragged him toward the Rasengan's heart. Naruto clenched his fist, focusing his will. Only what I choose can happen here. No more monsters, no more victims. He released the energy in a burst, flinging Orochimaru and his minions out of the domain, battered and broken, the old ruins crumbling in the aftermath. The domain collapsed and Naruto dropped to his knees, breath heaving, vision swimming. The Maelstrom Shrine, the fusion of shinobi hope and cursed power, was his at last. But the cost had only begun to reveal itself. Naruto's body ached as if every muscle had been torn and mended in the space of a single breath. The world outside the collapsed domain shimmered and bent, then snapped back into harsh clarity. Rocks split in perfect spirals radiated from where he'd stood, ancient trees stripped to the bone. The cursed finger in his pouch was cold now, its power spent or simply drowned by something greater. Kakashi reached Naruto first, pulling him to his feet with a look that was equal parts awe and worry. "Are you all right?" Naruto nodded shakily, fighting off the dizzying sense of vertigo. "I think so. Did I hurt anyone?" Sakura rushed to his side, her chakra already working to heal the burns on his arm. "You did it, Naruto. You controlled it. You made the domain your own." Sasuke stood a few feet back, watching with narrowed eyes. His voice was careful. "That was something else. Even Itachi never showed me power like that." The wind picked up, carrying the smell of ozone and stone. Beyond the shattered boundary, the surviving sound nin fled into the ruins, dragging their wounded with them. Orochimaru, battered and wide-eyed, retreated into the shadows, licking blood from his lips. "This isn't the end," he hissed, voice echoing over the ruined shrine. "There are more fingers than you can imagine and more monsters than you can face. I'll take what's mine, one way or another." Then he was gone, swallowed by the dark, leaving only the promise of another confrontation. Tsunade and the ANBU arrived moments later, weapons drawn, faces set for battle. They took in the devastation, the battered but standing Team 7, and the obvious absence of their greatest enemy. Tsunade looked Naruto over, concern plain on her face. "What happened?" Kakashi explained quickly, the fusion, the domain, Orochimaru's retreat. Tsunade listened, silent and grave. At last she nodded. "This technique, you must use it only as a last resort. The cost to your body and your soul is too high. But you saved lives today, Naruto. The whole village owes you." Sakura handed Naruto a canteen, her hand lingering just a second too long. "You scared me," she admitted softly, "but I'm proud of you." Naruto gave her a tired smile. "I was scared too, but I had to try. I had to prove we could fight back." Sasuke moved closer, voice low so only Naruto could hear. "That domain, did you see anything inside it, anything strange?" Naruto remembered flashes, shadowy hands reaching, feathers swirling, a broken mask lying at his feet. But the memory already faded, dreamlike and unsettling. "I saw something," he said, "but I'm not sure what it meant." Sasuke's jaw tightened. "Be careful. The closer you get to that power, the more it might change you." Naruto nodded, the warning sinking into his bones. Iruka found them as the sun started to set, his face a mixture of relief and fear. "The elders want to speak with you," he said to Naruto, "about what happened, about the next steps in the hunt." Naruto's heart sank. "Do they want to lock me up?" Iruka shook his head. "No, but they want answers. You're the only one who might have them." As Team 7 made their way back to the village, the mood was somber but determined. The villagers watched from behind windows and half-open doors, the line between awe and terror thinner than ever. That night, Naruto lay awake, the Maelstrom Shrine replaying behind his eyelids. Each time, he saw a little more. A circle of stone, hands reaching, a single masked figure standing apart from the chaos, watching with burning eyes. The black feather on his desk trembled. A soft tap sounded at his window. Naruto slid it open, expecting the wind or maybe a friend. But it was an ANBU, masked, silent. They handed him a sealed scroll marked with the Hokage personal crest. Naruto unrolled it, heart pounding. Inside, a single sentence. "A new finger has surfaced in the land of waves, but you're not the only one searching. Trust no one, not even the leaf." Naruto stared at the words, dread building in his gut. For the first time, he wondered if his greatest enemy wasn't just Orochimaru or even Sukuna inside him, but someone who wore the same headband as he did. He closed the window, resolve burning through the fear. The hunt had changed, the next move was his. The next morning, Naruto stood at the village gate with Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. The land of waves felt like a ghost from another life, old wounds and old triumphs, now shadowed by a new, invisible war. They moved quickly and quietly, traveling by river and hidden paths. Kakashi kept his gaze sharp and his words sparse, the message in the scroll still haunting Naruto's thoughts. Was the traitor watching them even now? Was the real enemy beside him or ahead in the mist? They reached the shore at sunset. The land of waves was still, too still. The bridge loomed, half shrouded in fog, its supports carved with unfamiliar marks. Sasuke scanned the horizon. There's chakra everywhere, some of it's wrong. Sakura shivered, her curse wound aching in response. It's like something is crawling under my skin. Kakashi motioned them to silence, then moved forward only to stop abruptly. Blocking the path was a tall figure wrapped in a red cloak, face hidden behind a cracked porcelain mask painted with a black feather. The air twisted. Out of the fog, two more figures emerged, one with a grotesque, many-eyed mask, the other with a wolf's face and claws dripping with black flame. The leader's voice was muffled but unmistakably smug. The vessel comes for his prize. You're late, Uzumaki. The game is already in motion. Sasuke drew a kunai, sharing and spinning. Who are you working for? The leader laughed. For the future, for the true king. He turned to Naruto, eyes boring into him through the mask. Hand over the finger, or watch your friends suffer. With a flick of his wrist, a ripple of curse energy exploded from the bridge, tossing Sakura and Sasuke into the water below. Kakashi moved to shield Naruto, but the wolf-masked enemy struck, forcing him into a brutal close-quarters duel. Naruto's head spun. Too many enemies, too many voices. The cursed finger in his pouch thrummed in resonance with the bridge, as if drawn by some unspoken command. He forced himself to focus. Maelstrom shrine, but this time make it yours from the start. Set the rules, don't let Sukuna in. He dug in his heels, forcing the curse and chakra to merge, swirling into the shape of hope and defiance. Domain expansion. Maelstrom shrine. The world warped, pulling the masked enemies and himself into the heart of a swirling storm. This time, the shrine was different, calmer at its center, chaotic at the edges. In this domain, Naruto's will was absolute. He fixed his gaze on the leader. Your rules don't apply here, not to me, not to my friends. The leader grinned, the mask cracking further. We're the same, you and I, just different faces of the same king, but which one is real? Naruto's anger surged. I choose who I am, not you, not Sukuna, not anyone else. The maelstrom's winds howled, tearing at the enemies, stripping away their cloaks and masks. The wolf-masked one crumpled instantly, cursed energy writhing and then vanishing. The many-eyed attacker was pinned to the ground, unable to move as the domain's rules rendered their power inert. But the leader resisted, smile widening. You still haven't figured it out, have you? The finger isn't just a relic, it's a key, and someone in your village wants it just as much as I do. With a last, desperate surge, he hurled himself at Naruto. But the domain responded to Naruto's heart, rejecting the attack, casting the leader out of the maelstrom like a broken toy. The masked figure smashed into the ground outside the barrier, coughing blood. Sasuke and Sakura scrambled back up from the riverbank, dripping and battered but alive. Kakashi subdued the last enemy with a single, brutal blow. Naruto collapsed as the domain faded, chest heaving. The cursed finger in his pouch had shattered, reduced to ash, but in its place was a slip of paper, covered in code. Sasuke picked it up, eyes narrowing. A cipher, hidden orders. Kakashi took the note, examining the writing. It's a mission code, Leaf ANBU Black Ops. Sakura's face went pale. Someone in Konoha was feeding them information. Naruto looked from friend to friend, the words from the scroll echoing in his mind. Trust no one, not even the Leaf. His hands clenched. The hunt for the fingers was no longer just a battle against monsters. It was a war in the shadows, a war where the next enemy could be anyone. Far away in the heart of Konoha, a figure in ANBU black flicked a mask onto a desk and smiled, watching a new finger flicker to life on a map of the world. Naruto stared into the gathering night, a single question burning in his chest. Who is the real traitor, and how much more will he have to lose to find out? The journey back to Konoha was shadowed by a tension that pressed on every breath. No one spoke of the ANBU cipher found in the Land of Waves, but its weight was felt in every sideways glance, every silent step. Naruto clutched the coded slip, the maelstrom shrine still roaring in his memory, the world sharper and more dangerous than ever. By the time they reached the outskirts of the village, the sky was bruised with thunder. The Hokage's summons came before they even reached the gates, urgent, secret. Kakashi handed the note to Sasuke, who read it with a frown. Tsunade wants us at the council chamber, all of us, no time to rest. Naruto's hands shook, his thoughts a storm of suspicion and dread. He scanned every rooftop, every shadow, half expecting a masked face to leap out and finish what the enemies at the bridge had started. Inside the Hokage Tower, the council room was full, elders, clan heads, Jonin, and ANBU, faces hidden behind their porcelain armor. Tsunade stood at the center, hands balled into fists. Her gaze met Naruto's for an instant, a wordless apology behind her fury. "We have a traitor among us," she said, her voice low and razor-sharp. "Someone leaking mission details to curse users, possibly Orochimaru himself. The hunt for Sukuna's fingers has drawn every predator in the shinobi world to our doorstep. If we don't get ahead of them, Konoha will be the battlefield." Murmurs broke out, accusations flying in half-whispers. Naruto felt all eyes slide to him, fear, envy, suspicion. Kakashi stepped forward. "We found proof. An ANBU cipher was used to coordinate with the enemy. Whoever it is, they have access to restricted intelligence and are targeting Naruto, the vessel." A masked ANBU captain raised a hand. "Why not just destroy the fingers? If the vessel's the problem, seal him or send him away." Sasuke bristled. "He's the only reason Konoha hasn't already fallen. Without Naruto's power, none of us would be standing here." Sakura's voice shook, but she didn't waver. "And he's not alone. We're a team. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The council's debate swirled around them, old fears, old grudges. Naruto's pulse thundered in his ears. He forced himself to speak. "Let me help. I'm the one they want, but I'm also the only one who can use the maelstrom shrine. If you trust me, I'll find the rest of the fingers. I'll stop whoever's betraying us, but you have to let me fight for my home." A hush fell. Tsunade stared at him, weighing the boy against the king. At last, she nodded. "So be it. Team 7, you have provisional authority to pursue the finger hunt and the traitor by any means. But the moment you lose control, Uzumaki, I end it myself. Do you understand?" Naruto nodded, resolve like steel in his chest. "I do." The council dismissed them, the ANBU melting into the shadows. Kakashi lingered, laying a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "I believe in you, Naruto, but keep your guard up. The enemy could be anyone." They left the tower together, the city swirling in rumors behind them. As dusk settled, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke gathered on the rooftop above the Hokage monument. They unrolled a scroll Kakashi had given them, a map of the continent, 20 marks scattered across its breadth, each the last known location of a Sukuna finger. "We've found 3, Sakura whispered, tracing the marks. "One in Konoha, one in the Land of Waves, destroyed, and one here." She tapped a spot near the border of the Land of Rivers, reported in enemy hands. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "Orochimaru, he's collecting them too." Naruto stared at the marks, their pattern forming something more than chance, a spiral, a web. He wants to finish what Sukuna started, rebuild the king piece by piece. Sasuke set his jaw. "We go to the Land of Rivers. We stop him before he gets any stronger." Kakashi reappeared, mask lowered, eyes grim. "It's worse than you think. Intelligence just intercepted word from Suna. Someone found a finger in the old Wind Temple. They're already fighting over it. Orochimaru's operatives, rogue Suna ninja, and curse users from the border, if any of them succeed." Naruto felt the weight of 1,000 years of curses pressing on his shoulders. "We'll stop them, I swear it." The journey to the Land of Rivers was a race against time. Team 7 moved fast, skirting roads and rivers, guided by the latest sightings and Sakura's ability to sense the lingering pulse of cursed energy. They fought off ambushes, bandits, mercenaries, and twice, strangers who wore the faces of Konoha allies but fought with the techniques of curse users. Sasuke's paranoia grew, every friend a possible foe. Sakura's research notes grew thicker, the patterns in her chakra analysis becoming more tangled with every new encounter. Naruto felt the maelstrom shrine inside him like a wound that never quite closed. On the fourth night, they reached the ruined monastery where the finger was rumored to be hidden. The air was cold, the moon sharp as a blade. Sasuke scouted ahead, silent as a shadow. Sakura drew seals in the dust, creating barriers against intruders. Naruto waited at the gate, fingers flexing, curse marks shimmering under his skin. Then the earth shuddered, an explosion from within. Sasuke sprinted back, blood on his shirt. Orochimaru inside, he has the finger and he's not alone. The three charged through the shattered gate, finding chaos. Sound Nin locked in battle with masked curse users, bodies already littering the floor. At the far end, Orochimaru stood atop an altar, the cursed finger in one hand, a scroll in the other. He turned, eyes burning. "You're too late, Naruto. With this, the king is almost whole, but I'm willing to trade." Naruto tensed, every instinct screaming. Orochimaru's smile twisted. "Give me the maelstrom shrine, let me see your full power, or I'll destroy this finger and all hope of controlling what's inside you will vanish forever." Sasuke braced to attack, but Naruto stopped him. "Don't, if he destroys it, we lose our chance." Sakura's eyes pleaded, "There has to be another way." Orochimaru's gaze was cold. "You have 1 minute, vessel, choose your power or your future." Naruto stared at the finger, the altar, and the friends beside him. Every path seemed a trap, but he felt something else, a pull not just from the curse but from the hope he'd built with Team 7. "I'll fight," Naruto said, voice quiet but resolute, "but not alone." He stepped forward, summoning the maelstrom shrine not as a weapon but as a shield around his friends. Orochimaru laughed and lunged, the cursed finger glowing in his grip. The battle for the king's future had truly begun. The maelstrom shrine unfolded around Naruto and his friends, its walls thrumming with blue and red energy. Within its borders, the air churned with spirals of light and markings from both shinobi and curse realms, a new world forged from his will. Orochimaru's smirk faltered, curiosity and greed giving way to wariness. "You think you can keep me out?" Orochimaru sneered, snake-like tongue flicking. "Even a god must kneel before the laws of curses." He surged forward, summoning a tide of snakes wreathed in black flame. The altar shattered as the finger hovered, pulsing between them, promising doom or salvation. Sasuke intercepted the first wave with a storm of lightning, his Sharingan spinning furiously. Sakura rushed to heal a fallen sound ninja, an enemy, but not her enemy. Naruto forced his power to flex, not just to fight, but to protect. He anchored the rules of his domain. "No harm shall come to my friends. No enemy will leave with the king's power." Orochimaru laughed, but there was strain in it. "You're writing your own law in a world built for monsters. Are you sure you're strong enough to keep it?" The domain shimmered, every nerve in Naruto's body screamed. The finger at the heart of the shrine burned, not with malevolence but with yearning, a call to be whole. Orochimaru lunged, chakra and curse energy roiling around him. "Give me your best, Uzumaki." Naruto met him, their energies colliding in a thunderclap. The maelstrom shrine responded, every blow a ripple in its design, every thought reshaping the world inside. For a split second, Naruto saw not Orochimaru but shadows upon shadows, echoes of other battles, other kings, all watching, all hungry. The finger hovered above them, drawn to both like iron to a lodestone. Sasuke leaped in, driving a Chidori into Orochimaru's side, but the Sannin only twisted, absorbing the strike, using the opening to snatch the finger from the air. Sakura screamed, "Naruto, don't let him take it." Naruto reached deep, feeling Sukuna's laughter coil around his heart. "What are you waiting for? Take the power, be the king, swallow the world whole." But Naruto hesitated. He remembered every person he'd ever saved, every moment of kindness, every promise. He wasn't fighting to be a king, he was fighting to stay himself. He slammed his hands together, focusing all his power on a single rule: no one absorbs the finger. Not now, not ever. Orochimaru shrieked as the maelstrom's winds spun faster, the cursed finger pulled from his grasp. But the Sannin would not be denied. He summoned a new tide of snakes, fangs flashing, a desperate, wild attack. Naruto faltered, the rule flickered. In that instant, Orochimaru lunged, biting through the energy, grasping the finger, about to swallow it whole. There was no time, no way to stop him by force. Naruto made a choice. He hurled himself forward, seizing Orochimaru's arm, and against every instinct, every fear absorbed the finger into his own palm, letting the cursed power burn through him. Pain exploded through his body, fire and ice and thunder. Sukuna's laughter became a scream. Sasuke caught him as he collapsed, Sakura's hands already glowing with healing light. Orochimaru, stunned, staggered back, his face twisted in defeat and awe. "You fool, no one can contain that much darkness, not even you." But Naruto, kneeling in the center of his own storm, looked up, not a king, not a monster, but a boy who had chosen his friends over everything. He forced the maelstrom shrine to settle, its walls tightening, expelling Orochimaru and the remaining enemies in a wave of raw power. For a moment all was still. Then somewhere far away, 20 echoes answered the call, fingers waking, curses gathering, the world itself trembling as the balance tipped. Sasuke lifted Naruto to his feet. "You did it, but at what cost?" Sakura stared at him, tears in her eyes. "Naruto, can you still hear me?" Naruto swayed, the curse inside louder than ever. But as he looked at his friends, the laughter dimmed, if only for a breath. "I'm still here," he whispered, voice ragged. "I'm still me." But he knew, and so did they, that the next time might be different, and that, somewhere in the world, a traitor was already making their move. The silence after battle was always the strangest part. No clash of jutsu, no roars of summoned beasts, only the quickened breath of survivors and the distant cries of retreating foes. In the ruined monastery, dust drifted through fractured moonlight, and Team 7 huddled in the center of the shattered maelstrom shrine. Naruto shuddered, the afterimage of the finger's power still twisting in his veins. He could feel the curse surging, sharper, more alive than ever, yet he could also feel the walls of his heart, the hands of his friends anchoring him to this world. Sakura pressed her forehead to his, healing chakra soothing some of the wounds he didn't even know he'd suffered. "You're burning up," she whispered, "but you're here, we'll get you home." Sasuke kept watch, blade ready, eyes sweeping every shadow. They'll try again, Orochimaru won't stop, and neither will the ones pulling his strings. Kakashi knelt beside Naruto, concern etched beneath his mask. "You made the right choice, Naruto, but every finger brings you closer to the edge. Next time, you might not have the strength to pull back." Naruto nodded, struggling to stay upright. He felt heavier, haunted by all he'd seen in the maelstrom. Echoes of Sukuna's past flickered in his memory, ancient battles, betrayals, a shadow always lurking just out of sight. Sakura wrapped her arms around him, fierce and shaking. "We're not letting you go, no matter what." Naruto tried to smile, but exhaustion pressed him down. "Promise me, if I change, if the curse takes over, you'll stop me, whatever it takes." Sasuke's voice was low, dangerous. "I'll stop you, but not alone. We fight as a team or not at all." A tremor ran through the ruined shrine. For a moment, the air shimmered, and Naruto was somewhere else, in a dream or a vision. He stood on a battlefield at the end of the world. All 20 fingers, each glowing with malignant energy, floated above a monstrous throne. Shadows danced around the throne, one wore a mask like an ANBU, another the cloak of a Sannin, another a crown of bone. A single voice echoed through the void, ancient, cold, inhumanly calm. "The vessel is almost full. The balance tips, king or pawn, monster or hero, the world will kneel one way or another." Naruto saw a pair of eyes, cold, familiar, impossibly old, watching him from the darkness. He woke with a gasp, heart pounding. The shrine was empty, but for his friends, the ruins already swallowing their scars. Sakura's hand found his. "We go home together, we fight together." As they staggered into the moonlight, the wind howled over the broken altar. Far above, in the deepest shadows, someone watched, a silhouette with a leaf headband and a curse mark swirling up their arm, a traitor hiding in plain sight. Naruto felt the curse inside him roar to life, all the old voices blurring together, and for a split second, he didn't know if the scream in his mind was Sukuna's or his own. But he forced himself forward, guided by the trust of those who still believed in him. Because the next battle would decide everything, not just the fate of the vessel, but the fate of the world. The journey home was a blur. Days and nights bled together, haunted by visions and uneasy silences. Every step, Naruto felt the new finger's power gnawing at the edge of his self-control. Every night, he dreamed of thrones and altars, of friends turning away in fear. But it was not the king of curses' laughter that tormented him most, it was the memory of Sakura's hand in his and the promise he'd made, "If I change, stop me, whatever it takes." They reached the village at dusk. The Hokage's tower blazed with lights, the air thrummed with alarms and the hurried footsteps of ninja. Kakashi led Team 7 straight to Tsunade, whose face was graver than ever. "We've confirmed it," she said. "3 more fingers have surfaced in the last 12 hours, 1 in Kumo, 1 in Kiri, and 1 here, in Konoha." A cold silence fell, even Sasuke's scowl softened into shock. Sakura's bandaged hand twitched at her side. Tsunade continued, "Someone's using the chaos to move the fingers faster than we can track them. And last night, an ANBU patrol vanished. Their last report, Black Feather, betrayal within the gates." Naruto stared at the floor, his mind spinning with the vision from the shrine. "It's the traitor. They're collecting the fingers not just for power, but for some ritual." Kakashi nodded, grave. "The pattern matches what we saw in the land of waves and rivers. Whoever has the fingers is trying to reassemble Sukuna, using you as the vessel. Once you're full, they'll trigger the final ceremony." Sakura's voice was small. "Then we have to stop them before they get the last finger." Tsunade fixed her gaze on Naruto. "You're the only one who can sense the fingers directly, but if you take on another, we might lose you for good." Naruto's heart hammered in his chest. He remembered the pain, the darkness, the edge he'd barely survived last time. He also remembered Sakura's eyes and Sasuke's blade and the weight of every soul in the village. He looked up. "We'll find another way, we have to." But as the sun fell, the traitor made their move. That night, the alarm bell sounded across Konoha, a single, long peal that froze every shinobi in their tracks. Naruto, already half awake from nightmares, was out the window before he could think. He met Sasuke and Sakura at the training ground where ANBU and Jonin had gathered in a tense ring. Tsunade and Kakashi stood in the center, faces lit by the harsh blue of medical jutsu. On the ground, an ANBU lay dying, mask shattered, black feathers scattered like blood. In his hand, a note, "The last finger, at midnight. Come alone, vessel, or they all die." Kakashi's jaw tightened. "It's a trap. They want to force you to absorb another finger, maybe all of them." Sasuke stepped forward, rage boiling in his eyes. "We'll go together, fight as a team. We don't walk into their hands." But Sakura was shaking, eyes wide with realization. "No, they want Naruto desperate. If they threaten us, he'll take the risk." Naruto's hands shook. He knew she was right. He'd give anything, everything for them. Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You have a choice, Naruto. Save your friends by playing their game or trust your team to find another way." Naruto closed his eyes, searching for strength. In his mind, the old king prowled, restless and hungry. "You know what to do," Sukuna whispered. "You've always known. Take the power, rule, or watch them die." But Naruto saw another path, one paved by his friends, by every moment he'd chosen mercy over hunger. He opened his eyes. "We fight together no matter what." Midnight found Team 7 and Kakashi at the old shrine on the village outskirts, a place steeped in blood and old curses. The traitor was waiting, face hidden by a blank ANBU mask, cloak swirling with marks. Beside them, 3 figures knelt, Sasuke, Sakura, and Iruka, each bound by cursed seals, eyes burning with defiance and pain. Kakashi whispered, "Stay calm, we have the counterseals ready." Naruto stepped forward, anger and dread warring inside him. Why betray the leaf?" The traitor's voice was low, distorted. "The village is rotten. The age of shinobi is ending. Only through the king's return can we rebuild a world that deserves to survive." They raised a hand, revealing the last finger, black, shriveled, radiating an aura of pure hate. "Take it, vessel, prove you're worthy, or your friends die here at the dawn of a new world." For a heartbeat, Naruto saw every possible outcome, taking the finger and losing himself, refusing and losing everyone he loved. Sakura met his eyes, tears tracking through the blood on her cheek. "Don't do it, Naruto. We believe in you. Trust us." Sasuke bared his teeth, sharing and spinning. "You're not alone. Fight for yourself. Fight for us." Iruka's voice was a whisper. "You're more than a vessel. You're my student, my son." Naruto's whole life flashed before him. The loneliness, the laughter, the first friends he'd ever made. He shook his head, tears streaming down his face. No, I won't do it, not on your terms, never. He stepped into the domain, summoning the maelstrom shrine with every ounce of will left. The traitor screamed, hurling the last finger at Naruto, cursing him, cursing the world. Time slowed. In that moment, Naruto made his choice. He caught the finger in midair. But instead of absorbing it, he drove it into the heart of his own domain, setting the rules. No one takes this power, not me, not anyone. I decide the law of this world. The maelstrom howled, the curse shrieked, and for a split second, Naruto felt every soul in the village singing with him, refusing to give in. The traitor's curse rebounded, trapping them in their own seals. Sakura's wounds healed in a surge of chakra, Sasuke's eyes flashed with new understanding, Iruka's chains crumbled. The last finger dissolved, its power drawn not into a monster, but into a shield of hope. Naruto collapsed, spent, surrounded by his friends. He had chosen, and for now it was enough. The world beyond the maelstrom shrine came back in fragments, moonlight flickering through shattered seals, wind roaring past the old shrine's broken stones. For a heartbeat, all was quiet. Then the traitor howled, the domain's rules binding them in a net of burning symbols. Their mask cracked and fell away. Naruto stared, heart plummeting, as the face beneath was revealed. It was an ANBU captain he'd seen 100 times in the Hokage's office, a veteran known for loyalty, the man who'd given him his first real mission scroll. But there was something else beneath his skin, curse marks swirling, eyes rimmed in black, a second mouth splitting his jaw in a twisted grin. He spat blood, glaring at Naruto and Team 7. Fools, you think this is about you? The king will rise, if not in you, then in another. The age of shinobi is over, only curses will remain. Sasuke stepped forward, eyes cold and hard. You betrayed your own village for power, you deserve what's coming. Sakura was trembling, but her hands glowed with chakra, healing Naruto and Iruka even as tears streaked her face. How many did you hurt for this? The traitor only laughed, even as the maelstrom's power squeezed tighter. Your children, you'll never understand what it means to lose everything for a dream. Naruto's anger surged, but beneath it was a profound sadness. You had a choice, so do I. He strengthened the domain, letting it burn away the traitor's cursed power, leaving only a broken man, weeping in the dust. But as the traitor collapsed, the ground shook. The remaining cursed energy, every scrap the traitor had gathered, every stolen finger, every piece of darkness, erupted in a wave that threatened to engulf the entire shrine. Naruto staggered, the pressure in his mind intensifying until Sukuna's voice filled his head, louder and clearer than ever before. That was your chance, boy. You could have been king. You could have crushed every enemy. Naruto clenched his fists, refusing to look away from his friends. I don't want to be king. I just want to protect them. I just want to be myself. Sukuna's laughter turned vicious. You think they'll love you for this? They fear you, Uzumaki. They'll always see the monster first. Why not give them a monster worth fearing? Naruto's vision swam. He saw the village, saw Sakura and Sasuke, saw Iruka's proud smile, and all of it threatened to vanish under the tide of cursed energy. The world flickered. In his mind, he stood once more before the throne in the darkness, the 20 fingers floating overhead, the monstrous shadow beckoning. One last time, Sukuna whispered, say the word and I'll give you the world, say no and lose it all. Naruto's voice shook, but he answered from his heart. I'd rather be nothing than lose myself. I'd rather die as Naruto Uzumaki, myself, than live forever as a monster. The shrine exploded with light, the curse howled, the king's laughter fractured into a scream. And in the next heartbeat, Naruto was falling down through memory and dream and fear. But a hand caught him. Sakura's voice, distant but real, pulled him back. Don't go, we're here, come back, Naruto. He reached for her, and the storm began to fade. He woke in the ruins, Team 7 crouched around him, eyes wide with worry and hope. Kakashi was there too, steady and silent. You did it, Naruto, you broke the chain, the fingers are gone, the curse is breaking. Sasuke squeezed his shoulder, rough but sincere. Welcome back, Dobi. Sakura just hugged him, shaking, whispering, don't leave us, ever. Naruto managed to smile, small and tired but genuine. The king of curses was gone, the maelstrom was his, and for the first time, the silence in his heart was his own. But as dawn rose over Konoha, Naruto knew one last battle remained. Because the world had seen what he could become, and there would be some, maybe even himself, who would never stop fearing it. They emerged from the shrine at sunrise, the air sharp and cold, the village spread below them in wary silence. Word of what happened at the shrine spread faster than fire. By the time Team 7 reached the gates, ninja and villagers lined the streets, their faces masks of relief, awe, and uncertainty. Naruto felt the old pain rising, 100 eyes watching, 100 hearts deciding whether he was still their monster or something more. Tsunade met them at the Hawkage Tower, ringed by elders and Jonin, ANBU standing watch. She didn't smile, but her eyes were bright with tears she would never show in public. "Report," she demanded, voice steady. Kakashi stepped forward. "The traitor is neutralized. The last finger was destroyed. Naruto held the curse at bay. It's over." A ripple of murmurs rolled through the chamber. Some elders nodded in approval. Others whispered, "Too risky, not safe. What if the curse returns?" Sasuke glared at them all, chin raised. "He saved us. He saved everyone. You owe him your lives." Sakura, still pale but standing tall, added, "He didn't win by power. He won by choosing not to become what you all feared." Tsunade silenced the crowd with a raised hand. She turned to Naruto, studying him as if seeing him for the first time. "You broke the chain, Naruto Uzumaki, but the village will never forget what it feared. You have a choice: stay and live under the weight of their suspicion, or leave and find peace far from their shadows." Naruto felt every eye on him. For a moment, the silence roared louder than any curse. He looked at Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Iruka, at everyone who had ever believed in him despite the darkness. He thought of the promise he'd made, to protect, to endure, to never run from himself again. He stepped forward, head high. "I will stay," he said, voice clear and unwavering. "Not because I want your trust, but because this is my home. I'm not the king of curses. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hawkage. I protect everyone, even those who fear me." A hush fell, then slowly, first from Iruka, then from a handful of brave genin. Applause spread. Not wild, not overwhelming, but enough. Tsunade nodded, a proud, almost relieved smile breaking through. "So be it. Your trial is over, Naruto. The village stands because of you." Naruto looked up at the faces before him and finally felt something close to acceptance, not just from others, but from himself. But even as the village began to move again, Naruto felt a chill crawl down his spine. The curse was broken, the fingers destroyed, but the darkness that had sought to devour him was not finished with the world. He remembered his vision, the battlefield, the throne, the masked enemies who were more than any single traitor. The world was watching, and somewhere in that world, a new enemy was already rising. Sakura slipped her hand into his, her touch grounding him. Sasuke met his gaze, a smirk tugging at the edge of his mouth. Kakashi placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We're with you, Naruto, to the end," Sakura whispered. He squeezed her hand, smiling through tears and exhaustion. "Then let's finish this together." And as the sun rose over Konoha, Naruto braced himself for the final test, a battle not just for his soul, but for the future of everything he loved. Dawn broke crimson and gold, painting Konoha's rooftops in fire. It should have been a new day, but the air thrummed with unease, a tension felt by every shinobi, every villager, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Naruto stood atop the Hawkage monument, looking out over his home. In the silence before the storm, he listened to the wind, to the distant clang of the smith's hammer, to his own heartbeat. For the first time in his life, he was truly alone in his mind. No laughter from the darkness, no whispers at the edge of his thoughts. The curse was gone. But peace was not. He'd barely slept, kept awake by visions. A throne shattered, a battlefield littered with broken masks, faces old and new: Orochimaru, the traitor, the ANBU captain, strangers with eyes too ancient for mortal men. They all watched him, waiting for him to choose. A distant explosion rattled the village. Alarm bells screamed, and in an instant, Naruto was gone, leaping from rooftop to rooftop, the wind roaring past him. At the village gates, chaos reigned. Masked curse users poured through shattered seals, monstrous Shikigami rampaging through the streets. Orochimaru himself stood atop the remnants of the barrier, his eyes wild with madness and ambition. Behind him, a single figure moved through the carnage, a silhouette wreathed in black feathers and curse marks, a new enemy risen from the ashes of the old, the true mastermind, the one who'd used the traitor, who'd fed Orochimaru the fingers, who'd orchestrated every nightmare. Naruto landed hard, chakra flaring. He was not alone. Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi were already there, fighting to protect villagers, their faces hard with resolve. Tsunade arrived, fists blazing, hurling enemies aside. The Jonin and ANBU rallied to her, forming a living wall against the tide of darkness. Orochimaru laughed, spreading his arms. "Welcome, vessel. The king is dead, but a new god will rise. The era of shinobi is finished. Curse and chaos will rule." The mastermind stepped forward, cloak billowing, a crown of black feathers gleaming in the smoky light. Their mask bore a familiar pattern, two faces, laughing and weeping, both watching Naruto. "You broke the cycle, Uzumaki, but you cannot break the world. Today, Konoha falls." Naruto drew a deep breath. He felt the maelstrom shrine within, not the curse, but the fusion of everything he'd learned. Chakra and resolve, fear and hope, the will to protect, not destroy. He turned to his friends. Sakura's hand found his, her grip steady. Sasuke's eyes met his, silent promises passing between them. Kakashi nodded, pride clear in his gaze. "Ready?" Naruto asked, voice steady. Sakura grinned through blood and dirt. "Always." Sasuke smirked, "Try not to let us down, idiot." Together, they leapt into the heart of battle. The fighting was brutal, jutsu clashing with curses, steel ringing against monstrous claws. Naruto moved through the chaos like a storm, his chakra radiating hope, rallying every ally who saw him. Sakura followed close, healing and shielding, her curse wound a badge of survival, not shame. Sasuke was everywhere at once, fire, lightning, and the cold edge of the Sharingan cutting through the tide. Orochimaru's laughter echoed as he unleashed a monstrous summon, a hydra, its heads wreathed in cursed energy. The beast crashed through homes, each mouth spitting venom and shadow. Naruto raised his hands, the maelstrom shrine blooming to life, a sphere of spiraling blue and red, expanding to shield villagers and friends alike. "Not one more," he vowed, and the domain answered. Sakura moved to his side, funneling her chakra into the shield. "They can't take what you don't give," she said, voice fierce. Kakashi and Tsunade led the counterattack, ANBU and Jonin driving back the invaders, reclaiming the streets inch by bloody inch. But the mastermind watched unmoving, their mask gleaming. At last they raised a hand and a storm of black feathers fell. The world blurred. Naruto found himself pulled into a nightmare, a battlefield outside time, the sky swirling with curses and thunder. The mastermind stood alone, mask gone, their true face revealed. It was a child no older than Naruto when his pain began. Eyes rimmed with red, scars twisting their mouth. The child's voice echoed with power and grief. "Why do you fight for them? They'll never see you as more than a monster." Naruto stepped forward, his voice steady. "Because I know what it's like to be alone, but I also know what it means to be loved. I won't let you take that from anyone else." The child's eyes filled with tears. "You can't save them all, you can't save yourself." Naruto knelt, meeting the child at eye level. "Maybe not, but I can try, I can choose, that's what makes me human." The nightmare fractured. Naruto awoke in the heart of the maelstrom shrine, power surging, friends at his side, the enemy on the edge of defeat. Orochimaru screamed, the hydra collapsing into dust. The mastermind fell to their knees, weeping black feathers. Naruto stood tall, declaring for all to hear. "I am not the king of curses. I am Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage. I protect everyone no matter what." The world trembled, then stilled. For a moment, all was silent. The black feathers dissolved into light, the remaining curse users fled into the forests, and the hydra's dust blew away on the wind. Sunlight broke through smoke and ruin, painting the battered village in new hope. Naruto stood at the center of the maelstrom shrine, breathing hard. Around him, the people of Konoha emerged from shelter, faces wary and wondering. They'd heard his declaration. Some wept, some stared, some simply knelt in shock at what they'd witnessed. Tsunade approached first, limping but unbowed. She looked at the destruction, scars on the earth, but fewer graves than anyone had dared hope, and then at Naruto. "You kept your promise," she said quietly. "You protected them all, even those who doubted you." Kakashi, battered but grinning beneath his mask, ruffled Naruto's hair. You went and did it, kid. You made your own legend. Iruka, eyes brimming, tried to speak but only managed a trembling laugh before pulling Naruto into a crushing hug. You saved us all. I always knew you would. Sakura and Sasuke joined them, standing close. Sakura's eyes shone with relief and fierce pride. You're not a monster, Naruto. You're the best of us, and you're not alone. Sasuke gave a rare, true smile, crooked and a little sad. If you ever turn evil, I'll kick your ass, but for now, I'm proud to call you my rival. Laughter bubbled through the crowd, shaky at first, then stronger. The mastermind, the cursed child, knelt before Naruto, tears streaking their face. I wanted to end the pain. I thought becoming the new king would erase it all, but you showed me something different. Naruto knelt, placing a gentle hand on their shoulder. We all have pains, but we don't have to face it alone. You're not my enemy anymore. Let's build something new together. The child sobbed, freed from centuries of hatred and loneliness. The villagers watched, the weight of years of suspicion and fear shifting at last. Some knelt, others cheered. One by one, the walls came down. Tsunade raised her voice for all to hear. This is the hero who saved Konoha, not a vessel, not a monster. Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage. The cheer was deafening, raw, real, unstoppable. It swept through the village, breaking every chain that had ever bound him. Naruto stood in the heart of it, tears streaming down his face. For the first time, he felt not just acceptance, but true belonging. As dusk fell, the village gathered around the fire-damaged square, cleaning up debris, tending to the wounded, sharing stories of survival. Naruto wandered among them, offering help where he could, laughter and warmth following in his wake. He found Sakura sitting on a rooftop, watching the sunset paint the clouds pink and gold. Do you still feel it? She asked quietly. The curse. Naruto closed his eyes, searching inward. All he found was silence, peaceful, steady, his own. No, he said softly, not anymore, you. Sakura smiled, touching the faded scar on her arm. It's part of me now, but so are you, so is everyone I fought for. He sat beside her, letting the quiet wrap around them. Thank you, he said, for believing, for fighting, for bringing me back. She nudged him, eyes glistening. Don't thank me, just keep being you. They watched as lanterns floated into the night, each one a wish for the future. Below, Sasuke leaned against the old bridge, watching the water ripple by. Kakashi joined him, hands in his pockets. He did it, Sasuke said, almost in disbelief. Kakashi's eye creased in a smile. Naruto always does, it just takes him the long way around. They shared a rare, quiet peace, the promise of new beginnings settling in the cool air. In the Hokage's office, Tsunade wrote a single line in the village records. On this day, the darkness was broken. The future belongs to the brave. The village slowly healed, days stretching into weeks. Konoha's scars faded, not erased, but transformed. Every street, every rooftop bore marks of battle and rebirth, memories of fear replaced with hope and gratitude. Naruto worked alongside his friends, rebuilding homes, replanting gardens, comforting the grieving, always with a smile and a stubborn cheer that made even the hardest hearts soften. He laughed with children, argued with stubborn elders, and sat with those who mourned. His presence was no longer a warning, it was a promise. One morning, he stood outside Ikaraku Ramen, grinning as the owner ladled steaming noodles into a bowl. Eat, Tuchai laughed, the hero of Konoha needs his strength. I piled the bowl high, and the villagers watching from the street cheered. Naruto slurped loudly, for once not caring about dignity or appearances. Iruka joined him at the counter. So, have you decided, will you take the hat when the time comes? Naruto swallowed, smiling sheepishly. Only if the village wants me. I want to earn it, not just inherit it. Iruka clapped his shoulder. You already have. As they ate, Sakura and Sasuke arrived, arguing about something small, Sakura rolling her eyes, Sasuke wearing a crooked half-smirk. They squeezed onto the bench, sharing ramen and quiet laughter. You ever think we'd get here? Sakura teased. Naruto grinned. I never stopped believing. Sasuke shook his head, mock serious. Just don't let it go to your head, idiot. Naruto slurped up the last noodle and looked at his friends, the people who had made everything possible. I don't need to be Hokage to be happy, he said quietly, but I'll never stop fighting for it, for all of us. A few days later, the village held a festival, the first since peace returned. Lanterns glowed in every window, music drifted through the streets, and children ran with painted fox masks and paper crowns. Naruto wandered through the crowd, helping string banners, laughing at the antics of Konohamaru and the younger genin, stealing sweet dango with Choji and Ino. He found Hinata, shy but radiant, surrounded by friends. She met his gaze, smiled, and for the first time, Naruto saw no fear, only pride. "Thank you, Naruto," she whispered. "You saved all of us, and you saved yourself." Naruto blushed, scratching his head. Couldn't have done it alone. She touched his arm, gentle and sure. "That's what makes you strongest." At the festival's height, Tsunade called the village together. She stood on a makeshift stage, the hawkage hat at her side, the fire of sunset at her back. She spoke of the old curse, the darkness that once threatened to consume them, of the monster they all feared and the boy who had refused to let fear define him. She called Naruto forward, and as he stepped onto the stage, the crowd surged in a wave of cheers and tears. Tsunade placed the hat in his hands. "One day this will be yours. For now, know this, you are not our monster, you are our hope, our future." Naruto held the hat aloft, voice ringing out. "I am Naruto Uzumaki. I will protect everyone in this village, not as the king of curses, but as someone who believes that even the worst pain can become the greatest strength." The village roared, fireworks bursting overhead. In that moment, every shadow that had ever haunted him vanished in the light. After the celebration, Naruto slipped away to the old bridge where his journey had begun. Sakura joined him, sitting on the railing, feet swinging. "Does it feel real yet?" she asked. Naruto looked out at the stars. "It does, and it doesn't. I keep expecting to wake up alone again, but every time I see you, Sasuke, Kakashi, Iruka, everyone, I know it's real." She bumped his shoulder. "You earned it, every bit." Naruto was quiet for a long moment. "Sakura, do you ever think about what could have happened if I'd given in, if the curse had won?" She took his hand, squeezing it tight. "But it didn't. You won, Naruto, not just for us, for yourself." He smiled, tears prickling his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you." She leaned her head on his shoulder, and together they watched the lanterns floating down the river, each one a prayer for tomorrow. In the shadows, Sasuke watched over his friends, a promise unspoken but unbreakable. Kakashi watched over them all, content in the knowledge that his students had surpassed even his wildest hopes. Tsunade penned a letter to every ally and rival village. "Konoha stands unbroken, the age of curses is over, the age of hope begins." Night deepened, the stars shone bright and new. Naruto walked through the quiet streets one last time before dawn. He paused in the empty square, looking up at the faces carved in stone. He remembered every pain, every loss, every lesson. A quiet voice whispered inside, "Not Sukuna's, not a king, but his own. I am enough, I am home." He smiled and turned toward tomorrow. And that wraps up today's story. What if Naruto was reincarnation of Sukuna? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did putting it together. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment with your thoughts or your own what if ideas, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.